Since the dawn of time, everyone has felt misunderstood by their father. You know that feeling. Like no matter what you do, it's never good enough. That you'll always be seen as the family screw-up, even when you're trying to do the right thing. Well, now imagine that on a cosmic scale. That's exactly the drama of Lucifer Morningstar. He's not just misunderstood by his dad, he's literally God's rebellious son. And after millennia of being treated as the villain of the story, he did what anyone would do, said, "To hell with it," and moved to Los Angeles to run a nightclub and live his own life. But there's a catch. When you're immortal and can have literally anything, nothing feels fun anymore. That's where the show Lucifer comes in, taking this seemingly absurd premise and turning it into something much deeper. Because it's not just about the devil solving crimes. It's about someone trying to figure out if it's possible to change when everyone, including yourself, has already decided who you are. The best part? The show makes you root for the guy who's technically supposed to be the ultimate antagonist. And the message behind it is universal. We all have our inner demons, and the journey towards self-acceptance and becoming a better person is what truly matters. If I had to sum up Lucifer in one sentence, it would be this: even the devil deserves a second chance. So today on the channel, Lucifer, the series that proves redemption is possible, even for the most hated figure in the universe. For the devil, retirement is supposed to be paradise, but paradise is a bore. In Los Angeles, Lucifer Morningstar has traded the flames of hell for the neon lights of his upscale nightclub, Lux. But peace never lasts for a fallen angel. His brother, the angel Aminadiel, shows up with a celestial eviction notice. Hell demands the return of its king. Lucifer, however, sends a message back. He's fed up with being a pawn in his father's cosmic game. Little did he know his new game was about to begin. Delilah, a pop star he once helped, resurfaces, haunted by the idea that she sold her soul. Lucifer calms her, reminding her that the devil doesn't make deals. He only reveals what's already there. He tells her to get her act together, one last favor. But favors in Lucifer's world come at a steep price. Moments later, the glamorous night shatters into a bloodbath. Delilah is murdered, and Lucifer, miraculously unharmed, faces the shooter in his last breaths. The dying man's confession pours gasoline on the fire. "I just pulled the trigger," a confession that turns a random crime into a conspiracy. That's where Detective Chloe Decker comes in, a woman immune to his charm and a skeptic to her core, who can't fathom how he survived. For Lucifer, the answer is clear. The real culprit must be punished, and he'll see to it himself. Lucifer's hunt throws him into an underworld of resentful ex-fiancés, violent rappers, and bedroom secrets, with Chloe always one step behind, furious with his interference. But her stubbornness gives way when Lucifer's supernatural ability to draw out anyone's darkest desires leads them to the victim's therapist, Dr. Linda, and then to her secret lover, actor Gray Cooper. On the film set, the case seems to go cold, until one detail blows the investigation wide open: a watch. The same watch worn by the shooter. Lucifer connects the dots with infernal clarity. It wasn't a gift, it was a payment. The truth is more rotten than they imagined. Jimmy Barnes, the washed-up producer, orchestrated everything. Delilah's death would make her album sales explode, saving him from ruin. In the final confrontation, Jimmy fires, but Chloe throws herself in front of the bullet, an act of sacrifice that changes everything. Lucifer, seeing the one human who intrigues him about to die, unleashes a fury that doesn't belong to this world. He reveals his immortality, protects Chloe, and drags Jimmy into a glimpse of hell on Earth. At the hospital, Chloe recovers, with no explanation for what she saw. The case is closed, but a dangerous door has been opened. For the first time, the devil is confused. And that confusion leads him to Dr. Linda's couch, beginning a game of self-discovery that could save his soul, or condemn everyone around him. While Lucifer tries to figure himself out on Dr. Linda's couch, Chloe Decker is obsessed with another question. How the hell did he survive those gunshots? Her secret investigation into him is interrupted by a new case that brings them together again. The death of a movie star's son, chased into a fatal crash by a paparazzo, Nick Hoffmeister. The twist? Nick confesses to the crime on the spot, without hesitation. But for the master of lies, a confession this easy smells fishy. Lucifer uses his gift and discovers the obvious. Nick is protecting someone. Chloe's investigation reinforces the suspicion, finding clues that point to a second person at the crime scene. Amid the chaos, Aminadiel reappears with a dark warning. Humanity is infecting Lucifer, making him feel feel empathy, a dangerous weakness. Little did he know, this weakness was about to reveal a shocking truth about Chloe's past. The investigation into Nick unearths an old wound. Years ago, the same paparazzo crashed Chloe's father's funeral to get a photo, an act of cruelty she never forgot. Now, he's protecting his protege, Josh Bryant, a young predator who manufactures tragedies to be the first to photograph them. He was the one who caused the crash. He was the one who manipulated Nick into taking the fall. To get the truth, Lucifer and his demonic lieutenant Maze take justice into their own hands. They kidnap the two paparazzi and offer them a gun, letting fate decide. But Chloe arrives in time to stop the bloodbath. In a moment of pure tension, Nick shoots at Josh, and then the impossible happens. Time folds in on itself. Amenadieu, unseen, slows down every second, allowing Lucifer to pluck the bullet from the air before it hits its target.
No, you were right, and I was wrong.
Chloe witnesses it all. Lucifer vanishes from one spot and reappears in another, a magic trick that defies all logic. Josh is arrested, but Chloe's mind is in tatters. Desperate for an answer, any answer, she visits the killer from the first case, Jimmy Barnes. And in his cell, trembling with terror, he screams the truth her mind refuses to process.
He's the devil! He's the devil! He's the devil!
Jimmy Barnes's terrifying truth echoes in Chloe's mind, but Lucifer has a far more earthly and irritating problem. An imposter is using his name to tarnish his reputation with cheap stunts. Lucifer's cosmic rage is cut short by a new case that hits close to home. Ty Huntley, a football star famous for his virginity, wakes up with a dead woman in his pool after a party Lucifer himself encouraged him to throw. The evidence stacks up like an avalanche. The victim's fingernail in Ty's bed, a compromising video on his phone, and a blatant lie about not remembering a thing. Chloe has no choice but to arrest him, but Lucifer sees the same injustice in Ty's case as he does with his impersonator, a slander that must be burned to the ground. He is convinced the player is innocent. The investigation reveals a web of lies. Ty's agent, Joe Hansen, hired the victim to seduce him, claiming he wanted to rid him of a possessive ex-girlfriend. But when the ex's car explodes, it's clear someone is playing a much more dangerous game.
Leave me alone, Deborah.
The bomb leads them to Ronnie Hillman, a Hollywood fixer, an expert in cleaning up the messes of the rich and famous. In a masterstroke, Lucifer uses the fixer not for the case, but to hunt down his own imposter. With the fraudster unmasked, Ronnie spills the beans. Joe hired her to blackmail his own client. He was afraid Ty would fire him, and the sex tape was his insurance policy, but the victim refused to cooperate, and in a fit of rage, Joe killed her. In the final confrontation, the desperate agent tries to silence Ty for good, but Lucifer intervenes, his unearthly strength paralyzing the killer before he can claim another victim. With the case solved, Lucifer has an epiphany in his session with Dr. Linda. He isn't just punishing the guilty, he's fighting for the innocent. The devil wasn't just on vacation, he was evolving. Still recovering from the shooting, Chloe finds the devil in her kitchen, and the tension is palpable. In therapy, Lucifer complains about her rejection, and Dr. Linda suggests he demystify her. Twisting the advice, Lucifer hatches a diabolical plan: sleep with Chloe to finally lose interest. The problem? She's not the least bit interested. His chance comes with a new case, a woman's disappearance linked to a club of pickup artists. To go undercover, Chloe needs a date from the club's list, Lucifer. He agrees, making his plan of seduction crystal clear, but the frustration of not getting what he wants leads him to blow Chloe's cover, getting them both kicked out. Meanwhile, a celestial battle erupts in the shadows. Amenadiel tries to recruit Maze to force Lucifer back to hell. Her loyalty is tested, and a physical showdown between angel and demon makes it clear the stakes are getting higher. Amenadiel taunts her, saying Lucifer is changing, becoming weak, a seed of doubt that Maze can't ignore. The investigation forces Chloe to Lucifer's apartment. He greets her naked, shattering any barriers.
I'm a police officer, and you...
But the moment turns unexpectedly vulnerable when he reveals the scars on his back where his wings once were. The connection is broken as quickly as it was made. At the club's party, held at Lux, the case takes an unexpected turn. The victim wasn't murdered, but kidnapped. Ignoring Chloe, Lucifer takes control of the ransom exchange, but it's all a trap. The victim and her brother set the whole thing up to get revenge on the club's leader. In the ensuing chaos, the brother attacks Lucifer. Chloe, acting on instinct, fires her gun to protect him, and to everyone's shock, especially his own, Lucifer bleeds. He's vulnerable.
I'm bleeding.
You're bleeding.
I'm bleeding.
For the first time, the devil feels mortal pain. At the precinct, he lies to protect Chloe, but the question echoing in his mind is why. Back at Lux, he shows Maze the wound. He doesn't feel fear, he feels a rush. Mortality isn't a curse, it's a new game. And for Lucifer Morningstar, the fun was just getting started. The discovery of his mortality ignites in Lucifer a thirst for danger. He and Maze crash a fashion show, but the adrenaline seeking turns into a crime scene when shots ring out and a young woman is trampled to death in the panic. Seeing the perfect chance to test his new limits, Lucifer manipulates the situation to become an official consultant on the case, much to Chloe's despair. The initial clues point to a gang war, but something feels too staged. Meanwhile, Amenadiel's game gets more dangerous. He approaches Dr. Linda, posing as a fellow therapist, and begins to extract information. Maze, worried about Lucifer's new recklessness, makes a fatal mistake. She reveals to Amenadiel that Lucifer is in therapy, handing the angel the perfect weapon to manipulate him. The investigation leads them to a tense confrontation with a gang, but when the danger becomes real, Maze emerges from the shadows like a whirlwind of violence, neutralizing everyone and saving Chloe and Lucifer. The main suspect is arrested, but Lucifer's gut screams that he's innocent. The truth, as always, is darker. The fashion designer Benny Choi orchestrated everything to frame his former partner and eliminate the competition. The favor Lucifer did for him years ago directly resulted in an innocent's death. After Benny's arrest, Chloe, furious with his manipulation, leaves him behind, but he's not alone. From a distance, Maze watches, her loyalty unwavering. She promised to protect him, and now she realizes that to save Lucifer from himself, she might have to turn against him. The war for his soul was about to begin, and the first betrayal would come from his most loyal ally. As Maze forges a treacherous alliance with Amenadiel, a new crisis hits Lucifer where it hurts most. One of his shipping containers is stolen, and the security guard is murdered. Initially uninterested, Lucifer panics when Maze reveals the container was his. His refusal to say what was inside creates a wall of distrust with Chloe, who suspects the worst and has Dan investigate Lux's finances. Dan's mission ends in total humiliation when Maze neutralizes him and leaves him naked in Chloe's bed. The investigation leads them to a biker club, the Los Diablos, but their leader, Hank Cutter, swears he's innocent. However, his reaction to a photo from the crime scene gives away that he knows more than he's letting on. In parallel, Amenadiel's manipulation reaches a new level. He advises Dr. Linda to embrace Lucifer's metaphor, to treat him as the actual devil to pierce his defenses, schooling her on his past as Samael, the fallen angel. Following Cutter, Chloe and Lucifer witness him confront the real thief, who kills him in cold blood and flees. Lucifer corners him, revealing his true face. In sheer panic, the man hurls himself off the building. The container is found, but it's empty. Stung by betrayal and loss, Lucifer goes to therapy, where Linda, armed with Amenadiel's knowledge, confronts him with his past as God's favorite son. The mention of his fall as an act of love breaks him. In a cry of pure agony, he explodes, revealing he can't rise again because they stole something from him. Back at Lux, he finally confesses to Maze what was in the container, the source of all his power and identity. His wings were stolen.
Someone's got my wings.
The hunt for the stolen wings begins with fury, but Lucifer quickly realizes brute force won't work. He needs an expert. At the same time, Chloe Decker is up against the clock. The corrupt cop she was investigating, Malcolm, is about to be taken off life support. She has 24 hours to prove his guilt or see the case buried for good. The two desperate souls make a pact, his help on the Palmetto case in exchange for her help finding his angel wings. Lucifer's first stop, however, is his brother, but Amenadiel refuses to help, leaving him on his own. Back with Chloe, he finally tells her the truth, and despite her disbelief, she upholds her end of the bargain. The reenactment of the Palmetto shooting reveals a critical flaw in the story. A third person was involved. Lucifer's hunt also moves forward. The wings are up for auction on the black market, and the FBI is about to raid the event. Amenadiel reappears, offering help, and Lucifer, with no other choice, reveals his vulnerability. Somehow, he has become mortal. While Dan takes Chloe to Malcolm's vigil, where she is treated like a pariah, the auction begins. Just as the FBI raids the place, Lucifer grabs the wings, only to discover they're fakes. Feeling betrayed and deceived, he abandons Chloe, breaking their deal. Alone, she and Dan find the proof they needed, a secret exit and a police key, confirming another cop was at the scene of the crime. Lucifer tracks down the auctioneer and finds the real wings, but the truth behind the theft is a devastating blow. Amenadiel orchestrated everything, a cruel manipulation to make him miss heaven and want to go home. Seeing his brother's plan in pieces, Lucifer makes a decision that seals his fate. He sets the wings on fire, turning his only connection to the past to ash and declaring that Earth is his home for good. But as one rebellion ends, another begins. At the hospital, the comatose cop Malcolm opens his eyes. Hell was about to rise to the surface. After burning his past, Lucifer throws a rebirth party, but a shadow hangs over the city. Malcolm, the resurrected cop, returns to work with a confidence bordering on the supernatural. In therapy, Lucifer complains of a new and irritating feeling when he sees Chloe with Dan, which Dr. Linda diagnoses as jealousy. The session is cut short by a murder that seems tailor-made for him. A therapist who promoted infidelity is killed. While the investigation rules out the obvious suspects, the Palmetto conspiracy deepens. Malcolm confronts Chloe, warning her to drop the case. The truth explodes in a shocking revelation. It was Dan who shot Malcolm to protect Chloe, and now Malcolm has him in the palm of his hand, forcing him to steal a gun from the evidence locker. Lucifer, on his personal crusade to understand jealousy, crashes a group therapy session and exposes the real killer, the victim's colleague, consumed by envy. But the case's resolution is just a smokescreen. Malcolm's old partner is found dead, with a forged suicide note confessing to the Palmetto crime. The board is being wiped clean. Lucifer's personal drama also implodes. Dr. Linda ends their sexual relationship while he discovers Maze's betrayal with Amina Deal and kicks her out of his life. The night ends with Malcolm's checkmate. He reveals to Dan that he killed their partner and forged the note. Now Dan isn't just an accomplice, he's a pawn, and Malcolm informs him that their game is just getting started.
Fun, right? We're having fun now!
Heartbroken by Maze's betrayal, Lucifer plunges into a hedonistic whirlwind, trying to drown his pain. His self-destructive spiral is interrupted by the most unlikely figure, a priest. Father Frank Lawrence asks for his help in protecting a young man from a drug dealer. Lucifer refuses, but the apparent contradiction of a man of faith asking the devil for help intrigues him. The forced investigation begins when the drug dealer turns up murdered. During an interrogation at the church, a shootout proves there's a bigger fish behind it all, someone known only as the Spider. Forced to hide out at Lux, Lucifer and Father Frank find common ground in music, forging an unexpected bond. Meanwhile, in the shadows, Malcolm's true mission is revealed. He forces Dan to steal a clean gun, a tool for a dirty job. Believing in the redemption of young Connor, Father Frank goes to meet him, but walks right into a trap. The real Spider is the youth center counselor, Eric Doyle, who tries to force the boy to execute the priest. When Connor hesitates, Doyle opens fire. Lucifer arrives in time to hold the priest in his final moments.
No, you idiots!
The loss of his new friend awakens a primal fury. He nearly kills Doyle, but Chloe's arrival stops him. Devastated, he goes to the beach and roars at the heavens, accusing his father of being a sadistic puppeteer. Later, Chloe finds him, offering silent comfort, a moment of pure friendship that anchors him. But the comfort is fleeting. Elsewhere, Amina Deal, the angel who brought Malcolm back from the dead, hands him the gun stolen by Dan. The order is clear. The mission is infernal. Kill Lucifer Morningstar.
It's Lucifer Morningstar.
A famous chef is poisoned, and for Lucifer, the crime is a personal attack on his passion for cuisine. He sees the case as a form of parricide, projecting his own war against God onto the victim's family dynamics. The crime scene is invaded by Chloe's mother, Penelope Decker, an actress Lucifer idolizes, creating comedic chaos and a forced family dinner. Suspicion falls on the victim's son, Junior, and Lucifer, blinded by his own issues, is convinced of his guilt. Meanwhile, the pawns on the celestial chessboard move. Maze seeks out Dr. Linda in a clumsy attempt to fit into the human world. In another corner of the city, Malcolm corners Dan, revealing the true purpose of the stolen gun, to assassinate Lucifer. The investigation takes a new turn when the sous chef is also poisoned, but survives. The search for the prime suspect leads to an adorable detour. Trixie runs away to Lux and befriends Maze, a moment that marks the demon's first real connection with a human. Chloe's chaotic family dinner explodes into disaster, culminating in Dan breaking up with her via text message, a message sent by Malcolm, who has knocked him unconscious. The truth of the case is revealed. The sous chef Anne was the killer. She intended to murder Junior to inherit the restaurant, but fate put his father in the path of the poison. In the confrontation, she starts a fire, and Lucifer, to save Chloe, suffers burns. The case is solved, but the night isn't over. A devastated Chloe goes to Lux and tries to seduce Lucifer. In a shocking act of self-control, he turns her down, and as he touches his wounded skin, reality hits him like a lightning bolt. In Chloe's presence, he's not just mortal, he's vulnerable.
Oh, God.
Waking up next to Chloe without having slept with her gives Lucifer a new rush, the high of doing good. He dubs himself Saint Lucifer and dives headfirst into a new case, the murder of a philanthropist, a bad boy gone good, with whom he deeply identifies. As Lucifer plans a charity gala at Lux to solve the crime, Malcolm's plot reaches its boiling point. He reveals his plan to a hostage, Dan, to frame him for Lucifer's murder, detailing his brief, terrifying time in hell and the deal he made with an angel to escape. The investigation reveals the victim's marriage was a sham, and that his secret lover was actually his assistant. A photo sent by him reveals the truth. The charity money was being embezzled. At the gala, everything converges. Chloe prepares to arrest the victim's wife. In a corner, Amenadiel and Maze share a moment of vulnerability, and in Lucifer's penthouse, the final confrontation approaches. Malcolm arrives to kill, but Lucifer turns the tables. He reveals the devastating truth. Amenadiel's deal was a lie. Angels can't kill mortals. Malcolm's soul is still damned. As an alternative, Lucifer offers him his Pentecostal coin, a get-out-of-hell-free card. Malcolm accepts and vanishes. Simultaneously, at Lux, Lucifer exposes the murderous wife, who is arrested. The night seems like a victory until Maze confesses to sleeping with Amenadiel to spy on him. The betrayal barely registers when moments later, Lucifer is shot on the street and feels nothing. His immortality is back. Confused, he goes to Chloe's house. To test a terrible theory, he cuts his own hand in front of her. The blood flows, confirming his greatest fear. It's not distance that protects him, it's her proximity that makes him mortal.
Appears you make me vulnerable too.
The truth is a death sentence. Chloe Decker is his kryptonite. Paranoia sets in, and Lucifer pulls away, convinced she's a weapon sent by his father. A new murder only fuels his terror. A young woman is found dead in a satanic ritual, with the phrase, "Hail Lucifer," carved into her back. Disgusted by being idolized by a cult, Lucifer throws himself into the case to clear his name, only to discover the victim was a member. His desperate search for answers leads him to question even Trixie, looking for any sign of angelic influence in Chloe. The hunt for the cult leader, Corazon, ends with him dead and the word Morning Star painted on the wall. The evidence is overwhelming. Dan and Chloe remove him from the case, a betrayal that completely isolates him. His frustration explodes in a public confrontation with a street preacher, a scene that goes viral and cements him as the prime suspect. But the real monster was already in his midst. Malcolm visits him and confesses everything with a twisted smile. The murders were a distorted homage. Horrified, Lucifer prepares to administer punishment but is interrupted by Amenadiel. Blinded by rage over Maze's betrayal, the angel attacks.
I hate to break it to you, bro.
The battle between brothers devastates the penthouse, a celestial war that only stops when Maze intervenes, refusing to be a pawn. In the chaos, Malcolm escapes. Seconds later, the police storm in. They find Lucifer, alone, amidst the destruction. Cornered, with no way out and all evidence pointing to him, Lucifer Morningstar is arrested.
Lucifer Morningstar, you're under arrest.
Cornered, Lucifer embraces the role of the villain, but before the police can act, Amenadiel rescues him. Broken, Lucifer begs to return to hell, but his brother, now aware of the mortal danger he has created, refuses. They form an unlikely alliance, find Malcolm and send him back where he belongs. Meanwhile, Chloe fights to prove Lucifer's innocence, and a tense alliance with Maze is formed for the same goal. The truth about the Palmetto case finally comes to light when Dan confesses to Chloe, who, devastated, gives him an ultimatum. Redeem yourself by proving Lucifer is innocent. The brothers' hunt leads them to an abandoned brewery. In an overwhelming show of power, they destroy a gang, but it's a trap. Malcolm ambushes Amenadiel, stabbing him with a demonic blade forged in hell. Lucifer is forced to choose between revenge and saving his brother. He chooses family. Maze arrives in time, using a feather saved from Lucifer's wings to heal the celestial wound. At the exact moment Dan turns himself in, the final crisis erupts. Malcolm kidnaps Trixie. At the exchange, he shoots Lucifer point blank. Dying, Lucifer makes one final prayer. He will surrender, be the obedient son, do anything. If his father protects Chloe, the deal is sealed. Lucifer dies.
Almost. Said you protect Chloe.
He awakens in hell and finds a gate open. There, he retrieves his Pentecostal coin from a newly arrived Malcolm and discovers the nature of his new job. Suddenly, he is alive, back on Earth, to Chloe's shock. Later, he explains to Amenadiel, the deal requires him to hunt a soul that has escaped from hell, and when Amenadiel asks who, the answer freezes the air, their mother. The hunt for the Mother of Angels begins.
Mum.
But finding her in a human body is like looking for a drop of water in the ocean. Lucifer's paranoia grows with every dead end. In therapy, he vents about his cosmic dysfunctional family, revealing how he became his own mother's jailer. A new crime seems like a direct message from her. A movie extra is found dead with devil horns. The new forensic scientist, Ella Lopez, quickly dismisses the theory. Meanwhile, Dan's return, demoted, adds more tension to the precinct. The investigation points to a troubled young actress, Amy, who recently overdosed and was resuscitated, the perfect vessel for a celestial soul. Lucifer becomes convinced his mother has possessed her. Desperate to keep the secret, Aminadiel performs a masterful charade, convincing Chloe that Lucifer's entire persona is just a delusion to cope with trauma. She doesn't buy it, but she accepts their partnership for what it is. The case takes an unexpected turn, leading them to a rival drug dealer as the prime suspect. In the confrontation, Lucifer, vulnerable due to Chloe's proximity, is nearly killed before she saves him. The experience forces him to admit he doesn't know his mother's intentions, and the uncertainty is more terrifying than revenge. But the uncertainty is short-lived. He returns to his penthouse and finds her there, a woman, bleeding, desperate, in the body of a lawyer. It's his mother, begging for help before collapsing into his arms. Lucifer's mother, now in the body of lawyer Charlotte Richards, tells a story of survival on the streets of Los Angeles, but Lucifer doesn't trust her. As they retrace her steps to verify the story, they find a second body, making her the prime suspect in a murder. Lucifer leaves her in Maze's care, who delights in the opportunity to torture the one soul she could never break in hell. Chloe's investigation leads them to Charlotte's law firm, uncovering an extramarital affair and a connection to a drug cartel. The twist comes from Dan. Charlotte and the victim were FBI informants. Meanwhile, in the penthouse, Maze discovers a truth that shakes her. Lucifer made a deal to send his mother back to hell. Seizing the demon's shock, the goddess overpowers her and escapes. The hunt for the cartel's killer leads to another twist. The killer is dead. Someone on the inside set it all up, and the clues point to Charlotte's jealous partner. He tracks her down to finish the job, but Lucifer intervenes, allowing Chloe to make the arrest. Now safe, his mother must assume the identity of Charlotte Richards. In a final conversation, she reveals the truth to Lucifer, a truth that changes everything. She never abandoned him. She sent him to hell to save him from God's wrath. Shaken by the revelation, Lucifer agrees to let her stay. For now, the goddess's adjustment to human life begins with a mugging and the terrifying discovery of her new fragility. Lucifer, fearing Aminadiel will find her, orders her to hide. But a new crime demands his attention. A social media executive is burned alive, and a video of his confession is posted online. The killer is stealing Lucifer's job, and he's fascinated. The investigation quickly leads them to a humiliated ex-intern, who confesses without hesitation, much to Lucifer's disappointment. But a second body appears, with the same MO, proving there's a vigilante on the loose. The killer is recreating literal punishments for sins posted online. Impressed, Lucifer decides he no longer wants to capture him. Meanwhile, Maze, frustrated with Lucifer's new girlfriend, recruits Aminadiel to intervene. The case investigation leads Chloe and Lucifer to the company's content moderation room, the only link between the victims. The head of the department, Lila, becomes the prime suspect and disappears. Suddenly, a live video surfaces. Lila, confessing to everything and preparing for suicide, but Chloe realizes she's being coerced. They track her down and find the HR manager, Ray, the real killer. Lucifer confronts him, not to arrest him, but to understand. Ray claims it was his duty, but Lucifer forces him to admit he simply loved the power. Chloe neutralizes the threat, saving everyone. That night, Dan asks for a divorce, and in the penthouse, Lucifer reveals the final punishment for his mother. She will not return to hell. She will be trapped on Earth, forced to live the mundane life of Charlotte Richards, with a husband and children she doesn't even know. Hell, for a goddess, is being human. Trapped in suburban life, Lucifer's mother is confronted with her own mortality. Lucifer, anxious about the consequences of his broken deal with God, throws himself into work to distract himself. The new case: a young woman found dead, poisoned. The clues lead to a cheating boyfriend and a roommate, but nothing fits. Meanwhile, Aminadiel, feeling his angelic powers fading, seeks out Linda, who diagnoses his cosmic problem as erectile dysfunction. To distract herself, Maze bets Lucifer that she can't get Chloe to have fun. The result is a girls' night with Chloe, Ella, and Linda, where Chloe finally opens up about the loneliness of her divorce. The investigation takes a turn when the victim's roommate is also found dead with the same signs. The girls' night ends in a bar fight, which leads them to a clue. The stamp mark on the victims is from an exclusive sex party. Unable to get in, Chloe sends Dan and Lucifer undercover, with Aminadiel accidentally joining them. them. They discover the poison was served in cocktails and that the victims were brought to the party by a third woman, Crystal, who is actually their neighbor. Confronted, she confesses to trying to trick them into prostitution, unaware that the drug she used was lethal. With the case solved, Maze becomes Chloe's new roommate. But the night ends with a terrifying revelation. Amenadiel confesses to Lucifer the truth about his deal with God. Chloe's life was the price for his mother's return from hell, and since the deal was broken, he fears their father will come to collect the debt by taking her life. The threat becomes real. Chloe gets into a near-fatal car accident, and Lucifer, panicking, believes it's a warning from his father. The tension is interrupted by the arrival of a new player, Uriel, his brother. The angel, a master of manipulating patterns and fates, confirms he caused the accident and gives an ultimatum. Hand over their mother in 24 hours, or Chloe dies. Lucifer's first plan to use Amenadiel to intimidate Uriel fails spectacularly when Amenadiel discovers he has lost all his powers and is brutally beaten. Meanwhile, the investigation into the murder of an action star moves forward. The case culminates with Chloe, with impressive calm, talking the prime suspect out of committing another murder by speaking about her own fear of death. Seeing her strength, Lucifer knows he must act. He finds his mother, ready to surrender, but refuses to hand her over. The final confrontation takes place in an abandoned church. Uriel reveals his true plan. He's not going to take their mother to hell, but destroy her with Azrael's blade, the sword of death, to protect Dawn. The battle is one-sided. Uriel predicts every move, overpowering Lucifer and Maze. With no way out, in an act of pure desperation, Lucifer uses the one thing Uriel cannot predict, the unpredictability of combat, and stabs him with his own blade. His brother dies in his arms.
You can't stop me, brother.
As Chloe, safe and sound, puts Trixie to bed, Lucifer returns to his mother, covered in blood and broken by the guilt of having killed a brother to save the two women who define his world. Uriel's murder sends Lucifer into a spiral of guilt and self-destruction. He shows up drunk to a new crime scene, a bride killed by a sniper at her zombie-themed wedding, and his methods become increasingly reckless. He pushes away Chloe and Dr. Linda, tortures a suspect, and steals Dan's badge, resulting in a fight that gets him kicked off the case. Meanwhile, Lucifer's mother manipulates Amenadiel's grief at Uriel's grave, turning his mourning into a weapon against God. The investigation reveals the sniper is hunting the spouses of people he blames for his wife's death. When he corners his final victim, Lucifer intervenes. Desperate for punishment, he offers himself as a target, begging to be killed. Chloe arrives in time to de-escalate the situation, arresting the shooter, a man also consumed by guilt. Seeing how far Lucifer has fallen, Chloe begs him to get help. He listens to her. He goes to Dr. Linda and finally confesses everything. And when she asks for the unvarnished truth, he shows her. He reveals his true devil face. She freezes completely, gripped by pure, absolute terror. Lucifer's revelation leaves Dr. Linda in a state of catatonic shock. At the same time, Chloe is shaken. Her father's convicted killer, Joe Fields, is set to be granted a prison furlough. The news turns to tragedy when Fields is murdered during transport, and Chloe, having followed him, becomes the prime suspect. Feeling like a monster, Lucifer decides to shadow Dan to learn how to be more normal and restrained. The investigation, now led by Dan and a trainee Lucifer, quickly discovers that the confession for Fields' murder was bought. Chloe, meanwhile, finds an old video proving Fields was innocent. Her father's real killer is still at large. The clues lead them to the Russian mob and finally to a devastating truth. Her father's death wasn't a robbery, it was a hit. Meanwhile, Maze embraces her new calling as a bounty hunter. The final piece of the puzzle falls into place. The prison's deputy warden, Perry Smith, is the one who ordered the hit. In a display of her new skills, Maze captures him and delivers him to Chloe. Confronted, he confesses everything. After 16 years, justice is served. Chloe finally breaks down, and Lucifer, the devil who has learned to be useful, is there to comfort her, sharing the weight of a pain that can finally begin to heal. Chloe's peace over her father's justice barely lasted a breath. In the shadows of Los Angeles, a new nightmare was already beginning. A woman torn apart by an ornate dagger, a weapon that did not belong to this world. Meanwhile, Dr. Linda, her mind reeling from the celestial truth, bombarded Lucifer with questions no therapist had ever dreamed of asking, trying to find logic in the madness of hell, but the logic ended there. Lucifer freezes when he sees the murder weapon, Azrael's blade, the same one he used to erase his brother Uriel from existence. The blade has been stolen, desecrated, and is now in human hands, leaping from host to host like a plague, turning petty grudges into murderous fury. An unstable alliance is formed. The devil, a fallen angel, and a reluctant demon set out to hunt down the celestial weapon. The trail of blood leads them to a yoga studio, now a sanctuary of carnage, where the blade danced from hand to hand, leaving a trail of bodies. The truth explodes when Lucifer confronts his mother. She was the one who guided the humans to the weapon, a sick gamble to create enough chaos to force God to look down. The trail of vengeance leads them to Karina, an instructor who, possessed by the blade's power, uses it to settle scores with the guru who abused her. But the blade's power is insatiable. Back at the crime scene, it finds the perfect host for chaos, Dan. All his repressed anger towards Lucifer, for the broken marriage, for the job, even for a damn stolen pudding, explodes with deadly intent. He attacks Lucifer, who, in a surprising act of control, manages to pacify him, forcing Dan to face the abyss of his own failings. The crisis seems contained.
What are we doing back here?
Lucifer recovers the dagger, but little did he know the hunt was never the real game. His mother and Amenadiel revealed a checkmate. The family reunion was a facade, a theater to force God to allow them all to return home, to heaven. Lucifer's answer is thunder. Earth is my home. But for the goddess, her son's refusal was not an end. It was the beginning of a plan B, far more danger. Lucifer's declaration that Earth was his home was put to the test the very next moment. His castle, Lux, was under attack. The murder of his landlord Dean Cooper puts the victim's son Eric in charge, and his first order of business is an eviction notice for Lucifer. Lux was to be sold. Maze smells the goddess's manipulation from a mile away, an attempt to destroy Lucifer's nest to force him to fly back to heaven. The goddess denies it, but the seed of the idea has just been planted in fertile soil. Meanwhile, the murder investigation closes in on Eric, who, cornered, jumps from a building in a sheer act of desperation. He survives only to reveal the bitter truth. The family was broke, and selling Lux was their only salvation. But the new owner, Eleanor Bloom, an old rival, doesn't just want the building. She wants to wipe it off the map to build a shopping mall. Lucifer's response? An epic protest party. And to his surprise, Chloe not only shows up, but uses her authority to protect the party, a silent declaration of loyalty. Little did they know that in the shadows, the goddess, in the body of Charlotte Richards, had already hired an explosives expert to solve the problem herself. The murder case takes an unexpected turn. Cooper was blackmailing his son's fiancée, Christy. In a twisted act of love, both Christy and Eric confess to the crime, willing to burn for each other. Touched by this devotion, Lucifer prepares to accept the loss. But Chloe had one last card up her sleeve. Using her contacts, she has Lux designated a historical landmark, saving it from demolition. The victory seems complete. In his therapy session, Linda plants the seed. Maybe Lucifer doesn't show his true face to Chloe because for the first time, he's afraid of the answer. He has finally found something he doesn't want to lose. But as his connection with the detective deepened, a time bomb, set by his own mother, was about to explode. At the last second, Amenadiel thwarts the goddess's plan, snatching the detonator from her hands. Destroying Chloe would push Lucifer away forever. The strategy needed to be more subtle, more cruel. The next day, subtlety takes form. Lucifer stands Chloe up for a celebratory dinner, leaving her devastated. The timing couldn't be worse. It was the day of her father's killer's trial, and to rub salt in the wound, the defense attorney was Charlotte Richards, and the prosecution's key witness, Boris Sokolov, has just been found without a head. The goddess's plan is revealed to Lucifer. She will use the courtroom to prove Chloe is unworthy of him, and she delivers. Using information stolen from Dan's phone, Charlotte exposes a procedural flaw of Chloe's, painting her as corrupt and destroying the case against her father's killer. Meanwhile, Maze, Dan, and Lucifer dive into the underworld to find Boris's killer, with Maze beating the information out of them. But it was too late. The system fails. Perry Smith walks free. With no legal options left, Dan and Maze deliver the killer to the Russian mob, ensuring justice, one way or another, is served. In court, Chloe makes the ultimate sacrifice. She takes the blame for the mistake, protecting Lucifer's honor. It is then that the goddess reveals to Amenadiel the truth that changes everything. Years ago, God sent her to bless a barren couple. The child born of that miracle? Chloe. She wasn't an obstacle. She was a gift, deliberately placed in Lucifer's path. Seeing this as the key to her plans, the goddess watches as Lucifer, feeling like a pawn in a divine game, tries to push Chloe away to protect her, but instead of driving him away, the gesture brings her closer, and amidst all the pain and manipulation, Chloe kisses him. The kiss that could have changed everything was shattered by reality. The arrival of Jana, a flight attendant, and just one more in Lucifer's long list of lovers, breaks the spell. Chloe pulls back, convinced she's made a terrible mistake. The mistake becomes a nightmare the next morning. Jana is found dead, and she wasn't the only one. Another recent lover, Raj, has also been murdered. The only connection between the victims? Lucifer himself. To hunt the killer, Chloe immerses herself in Lucifer's superficial world, interviewing dozens of women he has slept with in the last 2 months. The pattern is painfully clear. Incredible nights, unforgettable sex, but zero emotional connection. The experience is a knife in the chest for Lucifer, forcing him to face the emptiness of his own existence. The clues lead them to an obsessed fan, Suki, and her bizarre shrine, but she's just a red herring. The truth is in her photos. Jana and Raj knew a pilot, Tim Pickman. Tim confesses a drug dealer known as Bert was using the flight attendants to transport drugs. A package went missing. Bert killed Jana and Raj, thinking they stole it, and now he was coming for Tim. To set a trap, Maze goes undercover, arranging a meeting with Bert to deliver the supposed package. But the plan goes to hell when Bert recognizes Lucifer. Lucifer's mask drops. Furious that Bert used and discarded Jana like an object, he reveals his true demonic face, terrifying the dealer until he confesses everything. But the story isn't over. The police find the missing package, and inside are no drugs. There's a vial containing a mysterious chemical that kills its carrier instantly. The revelation hits Lucifer like a lightning bolt. The superficiality of his life contrasted with Chloe's integrity. He finds her and does the only thing he believes is noble. He sets her free. He tells her she deserves better, that he is not worthy of her, and ends any chance of a romantic future. To his surprise, and perhaps to his pain, Chloe agrees. They were too different. It would never work. The door that had barely cracked open was slammed shut. The no between them echoed.
Detective.
But in his dreams, the story was different. A fantasy of passion between Chloe and Lucifer is brutally interrupted by Maze, a perfect metaphor for reality. In therapy, Lucifer, confused by the kiss, reaches a self-centered conclusion. His invulnerability must have been breached, but his attempt to use his power on Chloe at a crime scene fails miserably, leaving him even more lost. The case at hand? A student killed by a fast-acting poison, the weapon of a killer who forces his victims into impossible choices. The investigation leads them to an actor, Johnny Kane, who was forced to either disfigure his own face or watch the student die. He hesitated, and the young man paid the price. The cruelty of the method leads Lucifer to suspect his mother, accusing her of manipulating Chloe's feelings. She denies it, but the seed of doubt is planted. The hunt intensifies when the killer targets a surgeon, forcing her to choose between her hand or the life of another student, Ashley Corbett. They race against time but arrive too late. The poison is already in Ashley's veins. Meanwhile, Lucifer's mother seeks out Dr. Martin, armed with bombshell information about Chloe that could break her son. In an act of sacrifice, the surgeon destroys her own hand to save the girl, and the killer keeps his word, sending the antidote. The investigation finally moves forward, connecting the poison to a disgraced professor, Dr. Jason Carlisle, a man recreating his own moral hell to punish others. To lure him out, Chloe taunts him online. The response is a live stream with 2 more victims. At the same moment, Lucifer's mother reveals the devastating truth to Maze. Chloe is a miracle, a creation of God placed in Lucifer's path. That is why she makes him vulnerable. It wasn't love, it was a plan. Lucifer and Chloe locate Carlisle, only to fall into his final game. He forces Chloe to choose: save one victim or enter a gas-filled room to save the other. Lucifer insists he can survive and tells her to catch the killer. Chloe captures him, but Carlisle takes his own life. She returns to find Lucifer unharmed, and for a moment, the connection between them feels real, but the victory is poison. Maze and his mother arrive and tell Lucifer the truth. The miracle, the manipulation, the bond he believed was unique was a lie fabricated by his father. Devastated, he flees, just as the poison, which she was exposed to during the struggle, causes Chloe to collapse in his arms. The revelation broke him.
You won't stop.
But Chloe's collapse forced him to act. With her poisoned and dying in his arms, Lucifer rushes to the lab, desperate for an antidote that doesn't exist. Ella, unaware of the gravity of the situation, delivers the death sentence. The formula was destroyed. Chloe has 24 hours to live. Lucifer's fury explodes on Amenadiel, who confirms the divine manipulation but knows nothing of the poison. He can't help. The clock is ticking. The search for a cure leads them to one dead end after another. Dan, blinded by desperation, nearly ruins a crucial lead. Out of options, Lucifer devises an insane plan, a final gamble. He needs to die.
Well, it's simple. All I need to do is die.
Travel to hell, tear the formula from Professor Carlyle's tormented soul, and be resurrected in time. His mother is horrified, but Maze and Dr. Martin agree. In a makeshift room, they stop his heart, sending the devil back home. In hell, he finds the professor, trapped in a guilt loop, and rips the formula from his soul, but the rescue mission becomes a trap. Lucifer is imprisoned in his own personal hell, forced to relive Uriel's murder, the sin that haunts him. On Earth, the team can't bring him back, realizing he's trapped by guilt. His mother makes the ultimate sacrifice, letting Hell's pull drag her down to save him. Meanwhile, Amenadiel protects Chloe, and Dan and Ella secure the last rare ingredient for the antidote. In Hell, Lucifer's mother frees him from his cycle of pain, only to become trapped in her own. He drags her out, and the two escape together, resuscitating at the last second. The antidote is administered. Chloe is saved. But the experience has broken Lucifer forever. To him, Chloe's love is now a lie, a divine sham. He abandons his parents' war, abandons everything. Weeks later, a worried Chloe finds Lucifer's apartment completely empty. He's vanished. He saved her life but lost himself in the process. 2 weeks later, Lucifer resurfaces, but the man who returns is not the same. To Chloe's shock, he introduces his new wife, Candy, an exotic dancer. Hurt and confused, Chloe fires him on the spot. Their partnership is over. The investigation of a murdered musician forces a tense reunion. Surprisingly, Candy proves useful, and Lucifer, desperate to prove his worth, sets up a fake divorce mediation session, which turns into a veiled argument about their own fractured relationship. Meanwhile, Lucifer's mother tries to decipher her son's plan by questioning Candy, but the dancer's cheerful, shallow personality is an impenetrable shield. The goddess fears for her son's sanity. The murder investigation leads to a chase that ends with Chloe shooting the real culprit to save Lucifer's life, proving that, even broken, the connection still existed. After the chaos, Candy tells Chloe the truth she needed to hear. Lucifer's work with her is the only thing he talks about. His bizarre behavior wasn't indifference, it was fear, the fear of almost losing her. Confronted by Amenadiel, Lucifer finally confesses. The marriage is a sham. Candy is a human shield to protect Chloe. He believes her feelings weren't real, a divine manipulation, so he is pushing her away to give her a genuine choice, free from destiny. A fragile piece is sealed with his mother, who then reveals her own final plan. Azrael's blade is part of the legendary flaming sword, the only weapon in the universe capable of wounding God and opening the gates of heaven. As Lucifer secretly pays Candy for her services and sends her away, he is left alone, contemplating a new and terrifying path. All-out war against his father, Azrael's blade was in his hands, but the divine weapon remained cold, inert. The sword seemed connected to Lucifer's emotions, who, in an act of desperation, seeks Dr. Linda's help, but she corrects him. He doesn't need to control his feelings. He needs to understand them. Therapy is interrupted by a murder at an elite school, a place obsessed with repressing emotions, a perfect mirror for Lucifer's conflict. Using Trixie as his child spy, Lucifer infiltrates the world of perfect mothers and flawless facades. The investigation reveals a nest of resentment and secrets, culminating in a grief counseling party where Chloe and Maze set a trap. The killer is exposed, another mother who killed to protect the secret of her son's true parentage. The emotional control the school preached was the very cause of the tragedy. The experience forces Lucifer to face his own pain. He confesses his true plan to Dr. Linda, a plan not of return, but of revenge. He doesn't want to go back to heaven. He wants to force his mother inside and lock her in there with God, hoping they will annihilate each other. Fueled by this genuine pain, he tries to light the sword. The blade glows for a blinding instant and then goes dark, broken, and in the background, his mother watches him, a dark urgency in her eyes. "There's no more time," she whispers, disappearing into the shadows. What did she know that they didn't?
Just not for me.
The goddess's urgency becomes the new mystery as the team investigates a murder at a psychiatric hospital. The prime suspect is a patient who calls himself God, and to Lucifer's shock, the man recognizes him, calling him by his angelic name.
Good seeing you, Samael.
What did you say?
Convinced his father is playing another one of his sick games, Lucifer has himself committed to get to the truth. At the same time, Chloe deals with an overprotective Maze, creating unexpected tension at home. The murder investigation reveals a mundane plot of jealousy and revenge involving a nurse. But inside the hospital, the celestial drama unfolds. Lucifer engineers a reunion between his mother and the man he believes to be his father. Witnessing their reconnection, something inside Lucifer breaks. His plan for revenge dissolves, touched by the possibility that even his divine parents could find peace. The case is solved, and the patient God returns to normal, revealing himself to be just a man named Earl Johnson. But when his belt buckle falls to the floor, everything changes. The piece of metal fits perfectly into Azrael's blade. It was the missing piece, the message Uriel tried to deliver before he died. The flaming sword is finally complete, but it still won't light. The most powerful weapon in creation is assembled, but the secret to activating it remains a torturous mystery. The search for the final key to the flaming sword leads Lucifer's mother back to the underworld, negotiating with a criminal who ends up dead before the exchange. The murder puts the team in the crosshairs of crime boss Bianca Ruiz and her son Chet, but the war outside was a reflection of the war within. Feeling betrayed by Lucifer's plan to return to heaven, Maze confronts him. The argument erupts into a violent street fight, a dance of fury between demon and devil that only ends when he reveals the truth. He never planned to leave her behind. Meanwhile, Chloe and Lucifer's mother, disguised as Charlotte, infiltrate a party to investigate Chet. The goddess plays her own game, tricking Bianca into handing over the stolen artifact. Not a key, but an ancient book, written in Sumerian. The answer had been there all along, hidden in plain sight. Amina Deal, the scholarly angel, translates the text, and the truth drops like a bomb. The sword is made of 3 pieces. The third, the key that binds them all, was entrusted by God to his favorite son. Lucifer, in his ego, assumes it's his ring, but the revelation is far deeper and more painful. The key is the necklace Amina Deal has always worn, a symbol of his devotion. As he joins the 3 parts, the flaming sword finally awakens, complete and terrible, igniting with raw power in Amina Deal's hands. The weapon for the celestial war was ready, and the loyalty of the favored son was about to be tested.
To you, brother.
The flaming sword in Amina Deal's hands wasn't a gift, it was a test. He saw the weapon as proof he was the favorite son. Lucifer saw it as the cruelest of manipulations. Their argument is interrupted by a scream of pain. Their mother, stabbed and bleeding celestial light, bursts into Dr. Linda's office. Her powers were returning, and her human vessel wouldn't be able to contain them for much longer. It was a race against the clock. The light emanating from her had already incinerated her attacker, and Chloe was already investigating. If the detective got too close, the goddess's energy would annihilate her. The family fractures. Amina Deal refuses to hand over the piece of the sword, determined to prove his loyalty to God, while Lucifer and Maze hunt him down. The mother, desperate and feeling betrayed, confronts Linda and rips the truth from her about Lucifer's plan to imprison her. The final betrayal. She vanishes only to reappear at the Santa Monica Pier, using Chloe as a hostage to force her son's hand. Pushed to the brink, Amina Deal slows time, allowing Maze to save Linda from certain death. With Chloe in danger, Lucifer finally assembles the flaming sword. But on the pier, he shots everyone. Instead of opening the gates to heaven, he tears open the fabric of reality, opening a portal to the void, to an untouched universe. He offers his mother a choice: war and destruction, or a new beginning, an entire universe for her to shape. In an emotional farewell, she accepts, becoming pure light. The body of Charlotte Richards collapses on the beach, and the real Charlotte awakens, confused and with no memory. Touched, Lucifer decides it's time for the truth. He calls Chloe, ready to tell her everything, but before he can get there, he's struck from behind. Darkness takes him. He wakes up in the middle of a scorching desert, sand burning his skin, and a familiar weight on his back. His angel wings, once severed and renounced, had been restored. Lost, confused, and with a pair of wings he despised, Lucifer hijacks an armored car to get back to Los Angeles. His first instinct, find Linda and demand she cut off the wings again. She refuses, seeing the act as completely wrong. But the torture was twofold. Not only were his wings back, but his devil face was gone. He was trapped in an angelic form, unable to prove his true identity. His attempt to reveal himself to Chloe devolves into a humiliating disaster, making him look like a pathetic liar. The game gets more more serious when a dehydrated body is found in the same desert, connecting Lucifer's abduction to a murder. At the precinct, they meet the new, intimidating Lieutenant Marcus Pierce, who establishes his dominance with disdain and skepticism. The investigation reveals the kidnapping was the work of a prank-for-hire company, but Lucifer knows his was different. He offers himself as bait, allowing himself to be captured again to find the true masterminds. He corners the last member of the crew, a terrified man named Sam. During the confrontation, Lucifer's wings erupt forcefully, a vision of celestial horror. A broken Sam reveals the truth. He doesn't work for God. He was hired by someone far worse, a Chicago crime boss, an underworld legend known only by one name, the Sinner Man. His father's game had just gained a new, mysterious player. The hunt for the Sinner Man becomes Lucifer's new obsession. He repeatedly cuts off his wings, only to watch them grow back, a physical torture that mirrors his mental agony. To make matters worse, he discovers the Sinner Man also operates by granting favors, stealing the devil's own trademark. A new murder, a failed comedian, seems to be another piece in the Sinner Man's twisted puzzle. The investigation leads them into the world of stand-up comedy, where joke stealing is a capital offense. Lucifer confronts the prime suspect, a famous comedian, live on TV, only to discover he had also been receiving death threats. The real killer wasn't hunting the joke thief, but the original author. To draw out the culprit, Dan takes the stage in a disastrous performance, but it's Lucifer's heckling that finally provokes the suspect in the audience. However, the true murderer was the warm-up comic who killed to protect her career, a dead end. It's then that Lieutenant Pierce approaches Lucifer and reveals a personal connection. The Sinner Man killed someone close to him in Chicago. He proposes a secret alliance, insisting Chloe be kept out of it for her own safety. Lucifer agrees. After one more frustration, he has an epiphany. He can't fight what the Sinner Man and his father are forcing on him. He needs to redefine who he is. He finally accepts the wings. He's done playing their game. He's going to create a new one by being a better, more devilish version of himself. The scene ends with a confident, renewed Lucifer approaching a stranger with the question that defines him.
Tell me, what is it that you truly desire?
While Lucifer searched for a new purpose, Mazekin was drowning in boredom. Bounty hunting, the violence, it had all lost its thrill. She felt empty, a soulless demon living for the next adrenaline rush. Lucifer challenges her to find a challenge worthy of her, to burn hotter, and she finds one. Ben Rivers, a manipulative killer no one could catch. Ignoring all warnings, she heads to Canada, leaving behind a worried Chloe and a Trixie who entrusts her with her doll for protection. In Canada, she corners Rivers, but he doesn't fight. He manipulates her, claiming they're the same, runaways from their own lives. The hunt turns into a psychological cat and mouse game. When Maze finally captures him, he reveals a shocking twist. He was framed by a corrupt lieutenant. The arrival of a professional hitwoman to silence him confirms his story. Rivers is shot, and Maze, the hunter, becomes the protector, forced to remove the bullet with Linda's guidance over the phone. In Los Angeles, Chloe's suspicion leads her to investigate the lieutenant, and with Lucifer's help, she proves Rivers' innocence. Back in Canada, Maze and a newly arrived Dan face off against the assassins in a brutal showdown. With his name cleared, Rivers invites Maze to run away with him, to live a life with no strings attached. But the journey has changed her. She refuses. She admits she's put down roots, that she would miss her family in LA. Returning home to the faces of Chloe, Trixie, and Lucifer, she knows, perhaps for the first time, that she's exactly where she belongs. Maze had found her home, but Lucifer was lost in an identity crisis. Feeling his demonic essence slipping away, he goes back to granting favors, a desperate attempt to reassert himself. Amenadiel, on the other hand, sees Lucifer as his own divine test and decides to live as his brother for a day to understand him. Lucifer and Chloe investigate the murder of a counselor at a youth rehabilitation ranch, a place that preaches change, something Lucifer no longer believes in. The investigation points to a young runaway, Tyson, who swears his innocence. Skeptical, Lucifer dismisses him, but Chloe believes him. The clues lead to a web of lies and drug operations within the ranch, but every suspect has an alibi. The truth only comes to light when the ranch's founder, Jerry Blackcrow, ambushes Chloe and Lieutenant Pierce. Pierce takes a bullet to protect her, and Blackcrow, the real killer, escapes. He killed the counselor to stop her from exposing his own criminal past. Meanwhile, Amenadiel's attempt to mimic Lucifer ends with him in jail, an experience that reveals the profound loneliness behind his brother's facade. Lucifer in turn corners Blackcrow, ready to enact his his own justice. But Amenadiu intervenes, reminding him of his true purpose.
You're not evil. You're the devil. You punish evil.
At the hospital, a new respect blossoms between Pierce and Chloe, but Lucifer, confronted with the suggestion that he's changed, that he cares, explodes. In a fit of rage and denial, he smashes a mirror. The battle for his soul is far from over. Lucifer's rage is channeled into a new and bizarre case: a food chemist found dead in a vat of pudding. The investigation takes a surreal turn when the company's lawyer arrives, Charlotte Richards, but the woman standing before them is cold, distant, and has absolutely no memory of Dan or Lucifer. She's back from hell. Convinced this is another one of his father's games, Lucifer becomes obsessed. The investigation reveals the victim was planning to expose a company secret, and that Charlotte, ironically, was representing both companies involved in a merger. A confrontation is inevitable. In her apartment, Charlotte breaks down, revealing she has no memory of the last few months. A gap in time she describes as an endless nightmare, as if she were trapped in hell. Lucifer finally understands. The goddess is gone. This is the real Charlotte, returned from her punishment, terrified and broken. The autopsy reveals another twist. The victim was dying from a disease caused by a toxic ingredient in the pudding itself. It wasn't murder. It was a suicide planned to expose the truth. Upon discovering her clients poisoned people, Charlotte, terrified of returning to hell, confronts them with a gun, ready to take justice into her own hands. Lucifer stops her, ensuring justice is served the right way and helping her record their confessions. For the first time, he feels responsible for another soul. He begins to explain to Charlotte what happened, a burden he now carries, defying his father's will and his own inner chaos. Chloe's birthday party is interrupted by a call from Las Vegas. Candy, Lucifer's sham ex-wife, is missing. Worried, he departs for Sin City with a reluctant Ella in tow, leaving a hurt and confused Chloe behind. At Candy's apartment, they find a crime scene and a woman's body, but it's not her. To protect the real Candy, they lie to the police, launching their own investigation. The trail leads them to a dead loan shark and the suspicion that Candy may be the killer. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, a drunk Chloe and Dr. Linda break into Lucifer's penthouse, only to overhear him on the phone saying he's in Vegas with someone stunning, deepening the wound. Back in Vegas, to get the attention of the prime suspect, Ella uses her card-counting skills to have Lucifer win a fortune, a plan that puts them in the casino's crosshairs but clears the woman. Out of leads, Lucifer finally tells Ella the truth. The marriage was a setup to save Candy's father's club and, more importantly, to push Chloe away and protect her from himself. Just then, the real Candy appears. The killer wasn't after her, but the deed to the club. As her legal husband, Lucifer is the new target. He takes the stage to perform, drawing out the killer, who is revealed to be the bartender and family friend. He shoots Lucifer, who remains unharmed, and the shock of the sight makes the killer confess. With the case solved, Candy encourages him to be honest with Chloe. He returns and gives her a gift, the very bullet she shot him with, turned into a necklace, a symbol that no matter how far he goes, their connection is indestructible. Years earlier, reporter Reese Getty woke up in a hospital, determined to save his marriage, only to see his wife, Dr. Linda Martin, leaving a hotel with Lucifer. Consumed by jealousy, Reese decides to destroy Lucifer's life, disguising his revenge as an investigative report. His investigation, however, only reveals how much everyone adores Lucifer. Desperate, he gets closer, shadowing Lucifer and Chloe on a case about a serial killer who murders phonies. The irony was palpable. When Reese confronts Linda, she confirms the unthinkable. She knows Lucifer is the devil, and it changes nothing. To prove his point, Reese shoots Lucifer right in front of her. The bullet has no effect. The truth shatters him. Destroyed by the revelation that Linda rejected him but accepted the devil, Reese finds the real serial killer and manipulates him into making Lucifer his next target. He sets a trap at Lux, but the plan goes wrong, and an innocent waitress dies. Lucifer confronts him, explaining that humans condemn themselves through their own guilt. Reese finally understands that his hatred was a reflection of his own failure. Realizing he was duped, the killer poisons Reese. In his final moments, Reese manages to trap the killer, but his own fate is sealed. He dies and wakes up in hell, trapped in an eternal loop. Waking up, seeing his wife with Lucifer, and being consumed by a jealousy he can never resolve. A soul lost in the devil's shadow. Reese's story was a dark echo, but in the present, Lucifer faced a different danger: boredom. A game night with Chloe and Trixie is interrupted by Amenadiu, who accuses him of becoming boring, a mortal offense for the devil. The accusation haunts him as the team investigates the murder of a seemingly dull computer engineer, whose polar opposite was her roommate, a social media influencer Lucifer saw as the epitome epitome of interesting. The investigation leads them to an exclusive dating app, forcing Chloe to go undercover as Lucinda, a female version of Lucifer, in a comically disastrous attempt to infiltrate a party. Meanwhile, Charlotte seeks redemption with Ella's help, and Linda and Amina deal find peace in mortality and the universe's uncertainty. The truth of the murder is revealed. The boring victim was the true mastermind behind the app, killed by the CEO she hired to be the face of the company. After arresting the killer, Lucifer has a revelation. It's not the facade, but authenticity that makes someone interesting. He finally feels comfortable in his own skin, preferring an empty party. He no longer has anything to prove to anyone. Lucifer's peace is shattered when a young man he granted a favor to become a crime kingpin turns up dead. The execution is a message. Shortly after, a second body, another person Lucifer helped. The pattern is undeniable, and the perpetrator has a name, the Sinner Man. Lieutenant Pierce confirms his existence, revealing a personal manhunt that began in Chicago. Meanwhile, Maze returns, confronting Lucifer about Amina deal and Linda's new relationship, reopening old wounds. In a moment of vulnerability, Pierce confesses to Chloe that the Sinner Man murdered his brother. The tension escalates when Charlotte Richards returns as the prosecutor, placing all the pieces on the same board. The Sinner Man lures Lucifer into a trap, imprisoning him in a walk-in freezer just to taunt him, making it clear the murders were merely bait. After being freed by Maze, Lucifer joins Chloe and Pierce in a frantic chase that corners the villain. He surrenders. But in the interrogation room, as Lucifer prepares to use his power and unravel his darkest desires, the Sinner Man stares back with a sickening grin, and with a shard of glass, he gouges out his own eyes. Blind and bleeding, he laughs, ensuring that Lucifer will never ever find out what he truly wants. The game had just become infinitely darker. Blind and chained, the Sinner Man is displayed like a trophy, but it's a trap. With a chilling smile, he lays the bait. A woman is drowning in a reservoir, and only he knows where. While Chloe and Pierce insist on protocol, Lucifer knows the rules are a death sentence. The only chance is to play the devil's game. The race against time goes up in smoke when the victim's car explodes, taking any lead with it. With no other option, Chloe gives in to Lucifer's insane plan. Thanks to a chaotic distraction by Ella, they bust the Sinner Man out of the precinct, with Pierce hot on their heels to keep the monster on a short leash. They save the woman, but in the blink of an eye, Lucifer vanishes with the prisoner. The truth, however, is more twisted than anyone imagined. Chloe soon discovers the twist. The victim faked the whole thing, and Lucifer wasn't abducted. He was the abductor. In one of his hideouts, Lucifer tries to tear the secret of his returned wings and stolen devil face from the Sinner Man, but the answer he finds is chilling. The villain doesn't want freedom. He wants Lucifer to kill him. He wants the end. When Chloe and Pierce arrive, they find the Sinner Man dead and the case officially closed. But for Lucifer, the pieces don't fit. Among the criminal's belongings, an old photograph changes everything, connecting the Sinner Man to Pierce. In the final confrontation, Lucifer stabs the lieutenant, and he doesn't die. The mask is off. Pierce isn't just the mastermind behind it all, he is Cain, the world's first murderer.
Wouldn't you agree? Cain.
You may as well pour me one, too.
Cursed to walk the earth forever. Before Cain, before the detective, there was Lucifer's first day in Los Angeles. A triumphant arrival cut short by Amina Deal, ready to drag him back to hell. The celestial reckoning, however, is postponed by a very human thief who shoots Amina Deal and steals his necklace, a divine artifact of incalculable power. Desperate and vulnerable, Amina Deal swallows his pride and asks for Lucifer's help, who agrees in exchange for a future favor. Little do they know their hunt runs parallel to the investigation of a young, ambitious cop, Chloe Decker, who is looking into the death of an MMA fighter in the same area. The brothers' investigation reveals that the victim refused to throw a fight. Meanwhile, Chloe, hungry to prove her worth, corners the lawyer Charlotte Richards and secures her cooperation. To force the killer's hand, Lucifer convinces Amina Deal to step into the ring and agree to throw the fight. The plan is simple. Whoever comes to collect on the bet is the culprit, and it works. The killer is revealed. Gil, the fighter's own coach, who killed his protege for money. After a terrified confession in front of two furious angels, he is handed over to the police. With the necklace recovered, Amina Deal is ready to take Lucifer home. But now, the favor is called in. Lucifer demands to stay on Earth. Reluctantly, Amina Deal honors the deal. Alone in the building that would become Lux, Lucifer survives surveys his new kingdom. He asks Maze to cut off his angel wings, thereby sealing his fate in Los Angeles and lighting the fuse of a war yet to come. The truth is out, but the game has just begun. In Lucifer's lavish penthouse, he corners Pierce, who admits to orchestrating the desert kidnapping, but he denies any involvement in the return of his wings or the disappearance of his devil face. His immortality, he reveals, is a curse of endless pain, not power. Lucifer watches him leave, sensing the puzzle's main piece is still missing. Meanwhile, Chloe, still reeling from Lucifer's betrayal, takes her anger out on Maze. At a new crime scene, the body of a professional surfer is found. Lucifer appears, using the case as a pretext to get Chloe to help him investigate Pierce, but she shuts him down without hesitation. Desperate, he twists a piece of Linda's advice and plans a fake display of altruism to get what he wants. The investigation leads them from a rival surfer to a gang, forcing Dan to go undercover, but it's in the surveillance van where the real game is played. Lucifer corners Pierce, demanding answers, and that's when the bombshell drops. Pierce reveals his true identity and his deepest desire. He is Cain, the first murderer, and he doesn't want power. He wants to die. He came to LA, hoping that Chloe, the woman who makes the devil vulnerable, could finally be his salvation, a plan that failed miserably. With the surfer case solved, Lucifer intercepts Pierce, who is packing his bags to disappear. He pitches a new theory, one that changes everything. God returned his wings to sabotage Cain's plan. Seeing themselves as pawns on the same cosmic chessboard, Lucifer proposes an unholy alliance. He vows to find a way to kill the immortal as the ultimate act of defiance against his father. And Cain, with nothing left to lose, accepts the deal with the devil. The unholy alliance begins with a comedic bloodbath. Chainsaws, blades forged in hell, nothing can scratch Cain's curse. The carnage is interrupted by a new case, a chemistry teacher dismembered in a suburb too perfect to be true. As the investigation unfolds, Lucifer treats Pierce as his new therapy project, trying to dissect his mind for a weakness. The case takes a turn when they discover the victim was actually the former chemist for a powerful gang. Ignoring Chloe, Lucifer storms a karaoke bar and forces his way to the gang leader. Surprisingly, the boss cooperates, giving himself a perfect alibi. The real lead is back home. The victim was selling designer drugs to her neighbors. To find the killer, Lucifer and Cain are forced to go undercover as a couple and move into the neighborhood. The operation quickly devolves into a domestic drama reality show, with the two immortals bickering like a real couple. After failing to draw out the killer by being neighbors from hell, they throw a party. A guest book reveals the murderer, a neighbor who, in a jealous rage, killed the victim thinking she was having an affair with her husband. He was just another client. Case closed. Pierce turns down an invitation from Chloe, admitting he can no longer get close to people who are destined to die. It's then that Lucifer understands. Cain's death wish doesn't come from pain, but from a crushing loneliness, a feeling the devil himself knows all too well. Finding common ground in their torment, they renew their pact, more united than ever. Together, they will find a way to end Cain's life. The mission to kill an immortal requires a divine expert. Lucifer decides they need the help of his brother, Amina Deal, but the plan is dead on arrival. Amina Deal refuses, declaring his new sacred duty is to stop Lucifer from defying their father. Meanwhile, a worried Ella hires Maze to find her missing brother Jay. Maze and Ella's search leads them straight to a crime scene. The diamond dealer Jay was supposed to meet is dead, and Jay's wallet is next to the body. He is the prime suspect. Despite Ella's pleas, Chloe removes her from the case. The investigation soon uncovers an insurance fraud scheme, but the owner of the involved jewelry store denies the murder. Tired of waiting, Pierce confronts Amina Deal. He forces the angel to admit that he was the one who gave him the mark, but Amina Deal insists he was only a messenger, with no power to remove the curse. The tension explodes into a brutal fight that leaves Amina Deal shocked by the depths of Cain's despair. Maze and Ella finally find Jay, who swears he was just a witness. His only clue, the shooter wore red-soled shoes. But his story doesn't hold up, and he flees. Just as Ella's faith in her brother shatters, Lucifer cracks the code. The red souls point to the insurance adjuster. The adjuster, betrayed in the scheme, kidnaps Jay, but is intercepted by Ella and Maze. In the end, Lucifer confronts Jay, who confesses to the theft. In a rare act of mercy to protect Ella's faith, Lucifer lets him go, but the peace doesn't last. A wounded and determined Amina Deal returns, vowing to stop Lucifer and Pierce's plan at any cost. The brothers, once allies, are now adversaries. The family war is about to begin. Lucifer wakes up screaming. In the nightmare, his newly returned wings kill Chloe. He confesses his greatest fear to Linda. His father is using the wings to control him, and the ultimate price will be the detective's life. The only way out, the only way to defy the divine plan, is to help Kane die, but he's out of ideas. A new case seems like a sign. A famous author is killed with her own typewriter. Lucifer becomes obsessed when he learns she overcame writer's block and wrote the solution in the afterword of her final manuscript, which is now missing. Finding that book becomes more vital than finding the killer. The investigation leads them to the victim's old high school classmates, who inspired her characters, making them all suspects. The plan? Infiltrate their high school reunion. As Lucifer prepares for the undercover gig, Chloe gets lost in the nostalgia of a prom she never had. The charade, however, leads to a dead end, and worse, makes Lucifer the prime suspect. The truth is simpler and darker. The author's editor killed her because he hated the boring ending she wrote, and to Lucifer's despair, the manuscript was destroyed. The only clue the editor gives is that the author's inspiration came when she realized she couldn't change the past. Chloe's words later, about how it's pointless to relive what's already done, spark a dangerous idea in Lucifer's mind. He realizes that, unlike humans, maybe he can rewrite history. Suddenly, the path becomes clear as hell. To undo Kane's curse, he doesn't have to kill him. He has to undo the original crime. Lucifer's plan is simple, direct, and completely insane. Fly to hell, yank Abel's soul out of its torture loop, and place it in a recently deceased body on Earth. If Abel lives, the first murder never happened. Kane's mark vanishes. End of story. While he and Pierce hunt for a host at the hospital, Chloe and Dan investigate an explosion that nearly killed a film producer's assistant. Lucifer finds the perfect body. He descends to hell, rescues the soul, and returns. But in the exact second of the transfer, the injured assistant, Bree Garland, dies in the next room. Lucifer misses his target. Abel's soul now inhabits the body of a young woman who flees the hospital in a panic. To make matters worse, Pierce's mark is still there. The plan has failed. Desperate, they turn to Maze, who explains the twisted logic. In hell, Abel was eternally hunted by Cain. On Earth, he thinks he's just in a new level of the game. The chase begins, but Amina Deal interferes, trying to stop what he sees as blasphemy. In the chaos, Abel escapes from a Bolivian mob hitman. Chloe's investigation reveals the bomb was meant for Bree all along. She was about to expose a money laundering scheme. The hunt for Abel is now a race to protect him from the cartel. Finally, Abel finds Pierce, and believing he's in his personal hell, shoots him to win for the first time. When Cain gets up, unharmed, reality shocks Abel. They take him to the precinct but walk into a trap. Chloe and Abel are stuck with a bomb. With Pierce's help, Chloe defuses it, but the close call is enough for Lucifer. He sees the mortal danger his alliance poses to her and dissolves the pact. At the exact moment Cain loses all hope, a speeding car runs over and kills Abel. Cain's last chance at mortality is destroyed before his eyes. The near disaster with Chloe was the last straw. To protect her from his father's wrath, Lucifer adopts a new tactic: distance. He will shift the divine spotlight off of her and onto himself by being obnoxiously helpful to everyone else. Meanwhile, a new case explodes. A backup dancer for pop star Azara dies on stage. The victim was dressed just like the singer. Azara was the target. The investigation seems to wrap up quickly with the suicide of an obsessed fan, but the autopsy flips the case. The fan was murdered a day earlier. The real killer is still at large. Lucifer volunteers to be Azara's bodyguard, taking her to his penthouse. There, the singer's diva attitude tests his limits. He tries to focus on her, but admits he's pushing away someone he loves to protect her. Surprisingly, Azara gives him the advice he didn't want to hear: never let anyone get between you and your passions. Meanwhile, the world around them crumbles. Pierce sinks into nihilism, and Maze and Linda's therapy session, mediated by Charlotte, becomes a disaster. The investigation takes a new leap when Ella discovers the first victim was poisoned with the ingredients of the singer's exclusive smoothie. Only someone very close would know the recipe. Ignoring the danger, Azara flees to perform at Lux. Lucifer intercepts her and ends up singing a duet with her. The performance is interrupted by Azara's assistant, Cece, who threatens her with a knife. She confesses everything. The attacks were to scare the singer out of the spotlight because Cece loved her and could no longer bear to share her with the world. When she lunges, Lucifer throws himself in front, taking the knife. The wound is meaningless, but the sacrifice inspires Amina Deal and gives Pierce new hope. He asks Chloe out, and she accepts. Upon realizing that his attempt to push her away only drove her into Cain's arms, Lucifer rushes to vent to Dr. Linda.
I think I've made a horrible mistake.
A copycat killer haunts Los Angeles, and Pierce knows the original 1950s case all too well, revealing the detective in charge was one of his mentors. Meanwhile, Amina Deal finds Charlotte Richards alive but with no memory of ever being the goddess. To her, he's just a stranger. The hunt for the killer unfolds under the shadow of Chloe and Pierce's new romance, a tension Lucifer tries, and miserably fails, to ignore. At the same time, Maze, feeling abandoned, sets a collision course with Dan, threatening to expose secrets that should have stayed buried. The investigation seems to point to an obsessed fan, but he's just a scapegoat. The real clue comes from Pierce. The original killer used a radio show to find his victims. The team sets a trap using the modern version, a podcast about infidelity. Lucifer plays the cheated husband, forced to listen to Chloe declare her affection for Marcus live on air. The bait works. The killer strikes, and Lucifer saves them, but the victory tastes bitter. Despite Lucifer's warnings, Chloe accepts another date with Pierce, and when he's alone, Kane's true face is revealed. He looks at the mark on his arm, the mark he wants to erase. Chloe isn't a love interest. She's the key. Pierce's plan to use Chloe begins to poison everyone around them. Furious with Lucifer for refusing to take her back to hell, Maze confronts him. "You're going to regret this." Shortly after, a man turns up dead, and security footage shows Maze pulling a knife from his chest. She's the prime suspect. Lucifer believes it's an act to manipulate him. Chloe refuses to believe her friend is guilty. Meanwhile, her relationship with Pierce deepens, and Amina Deal, against all advice, decides to tell Charlotte part of the truth about her divine possession. The investigation to clear Maze's name only incriminates her further until she turns herself in, confessing to the crime with inaccurate details. It's the proof they needed. She's being framed. Using Ella's innocence, Maze escapes from custody, thirsty for revenge. Her search, however, leads to a dead end. Her contact is taken out by a sniper. The clues lead to a winery, where the owner confesses she framed Maze to get revenge for her son's death in prison. As Maze is about to kill her, Chloe stops her, appealing to their friendship. Vulnerable, Maze reveals her true pain. Her anger is at Lucifer for abandoning her for Chloe. Meanwhile, Amina Deal and Lucifer take a desperate measure. They show their wings to Charlotte. Instead of fear, she feels relief. She isn't crazy, but the peace is short-lived. Pierce approaches Maze and proposes a new unholy alliance. Their goal is the same, to get what they most desire. For him, mortality. For her, a way to destroy Lucifer. Pierce and Maze's new alliance springs into action. The plan: destabilize Lucifer by attacking his greatest insecurity, his father. They gaslight him into believing he's sleep-flying and acting as a guardian angel, while a new murder seems connected to this mysterious figure. Paranoid and sleep-deprived, Lucifer throws himself into the case, desperate to prove he isn't the hero. Meanwhile, Chloe and Pierce's relationship gets serious, but she hesitates to introduce him to Trixie. The investigation into the death of an heir reveals a life of lies, propped up by hired actors. The sham perfectly mirrors what's happening to Lucifer. Exhausted, he finally snaps and tells Chloe the truth. Pierce is Kane. She dismisses the revelation as jealousy and fatigue, driving a wedge between them. The truth about the case comes to light. The killer was an actor protecting his own life of lies. The angel was just a play of light and shadow. Lucifer realizes he's been played. He confronts Maze, who confesses everything. She and Pierce orchestrated every detail to exploit Lucifer's paranoia and keep him away from Chloe. Just as Chloe is ready to give herself completely to Pierce, he stops her and ends things, unable to hurt her. Furious that Chloe has been hurt, Lucifer confronts Pierce. In the middle of the fight, Kane admits he couldn't go through with it, and that's when Lucifer sees the impossible. The mark of Kane, the source of his immortality and all his suffering, has vanished. The mark is gone. Pierce believes Chloe's love has cured him, made him mortal. Lucifer insists it's just another move in his father's game. With the curse lifted, Kane's desire changes dramatically. He no longer wants to die. He wants Chloe. The competition for the detective's heart is officially on. A new case, the murder of a ballerina, becomes their battlefield. Lucifer tries to one-up Pierce with grand gestures, only to be constantly one step behind. Frustrated, he recruits Amina Deal to help him prove that Pierce is still the sinner man. At the same time, Maze confronts Pierce, furious that he abandoned the plan that would get her back home. As the murder investigation uncovers a web of blackmail and lies, Amina Deal recruits Charlotte for the mission to unmask Pierce, and she agrees, hoping to win God's favor. Lucifer's one-upmanship escalates to a sports car, which Chloe refuses. Charlotte's attempt to seduce Pierce for information fails. He swears his love for Chloe is real. The resolution of the ballerina case hits Lucifer like a punch to the gut. The killer, another dancer, murdered the victim because she discovered his blackmail scheme, a desperate plan to get closer to the woman he loved but was too afraid to confess to. The truth hits him hard. He's just like the killer, afraid to tell Chloe how he really feels. Encouraged by Linda, he decides to finally open his heart. He rushes to Chloe's apartment, ready to confess everything, but he's too late. He finds her with Pierce, who gets down on one knee and proposes. Through her tears, Chloe accepts.
Chloe Decker, will you marry me?
Yes.
The news of the engagement lands like a bombshell. Stunned, Lucifer adopts a new and bizarre tactic to understand Chloe's decision. He starts imitating her, much to the despair of Dan, his new partner. Meanwhile, Amenadiel and Charlotte hatch a plan to break up the couple, convinced it's God's will. The investigation of a murder at a dog show becomes the backdrop for the chaos. Maze confronts Pierce and discovers that the mark of immortality has returned. Desperate, he realizes Chloe's love is no guarantee and asks Maze for help finding another way to hell. Chloe's bachelorette party turns into a battlefield. Charlotte plants seeds of doubt in the bride-to-be's mind, while Amenadiel tries to spook Pierce with the dangers of mortality. During the investigation, Dan forces Lucifer to see that he only sees the detective, not the woman behind the badge. The lesson finally hits home, and Lucifer understands why Chloe would choose Pierce's stability over his chaos. At the same time, Chloe, shaken by doubt, breaks off the engagement. Seizing the moment, Dan declares his feelings for Charlotte and they kiss. Lucifer, with newfound clarity, goes to find Chloe. Seeing her without the ring, he pulls back from his confession. Instead of moving forward, they agree to just get back to work, a step backward disguised as normalcy. Lucifer tries to force a return to normalcy, but his attempts to recreate the past only push Chloe further away. Reality hits them hard. The wife of a famous baseball player is murdered, and Charlotte Richards recognizes the name. Years ago, she covered up a crime for him, a ghost from her hellish past. As the investigation proceeds, a much darker plan unfolds. Pierce, now mortal and desperate, proposes to Maze that they kill Amenadiel. He believes murdering God's favorite son is the only thing that will force his father to return the mark. In parallel, Amenadiel comes to his own conclusion. Celestial beings control their own destinies. Charlotte, determined to redeem herself, finds evidence linking the player to an old murder, the very one she helped cover up. The current case resolves with a tragic twist. The killer wanted revenge on the player, but killed his wife by mistake. Maze sets the trap for Amenadiel, but at the last second, she betrays Pierce. The fight is cut short when Kane reveals his ace in the hole. A sniper has Linda in their sights. He escapes, leaving Maze powerless. Lucifer finally faces the truth and goes to Chloe. He confesses his greatest fear, that she will reject him if she learns who he really is. The words finally come out. "I am the devil." Tenderly, she replies, "Not to me."
I am the devil.
No, you're not. Not to me.
The moment is broken by a phone call. Charlotte confronts the player alone and gets a confession. When Amenadiel finds her, they share a moment of peace. Suddenly, a gunshot. Amenadiel shields her, but the bullet hits her. Charlotte dies in his arms. Amidst the grief, Amenadiel's wings return, and he carries her to heaven.
Let's go home.
Lucifer arrives to find only a single feather. The precinct is in mourning, blind to the truth. As Dan, Chloe, and Lucifer try to cope with Charlotte's death, Pierce reactivates his criminal network. For the first time, Kane fears death, and that makes him more dangerous than ever. His plan: plant a scapegoat and use Dr. Linda as a hostage. The truth explodes when Dan reveals it to everyone. Pierce is the sinner man. Pierce is the killer. The revelation enrages Chloe, who feels betrayed that Lucifer hid the truth while she was planning to marry the monster. Knowing Pierce is controlling the investigation from the inside, they pretend to follow his false leads, which take them to a perfectly planted scapegoat. Their plan is risky. Use Ella to deliver a phone to Pierce, pretending it's a clue. The bait works. Pierce calls his henchman and orders him to take care of Dan. Alone with Lucifer, Kane confesses everything. But in the middle of their confrontation, he has a revelation. Celestial beings control their own rewards and punishments. It was selflessness, not Chloe's love, that made him mortal. Cornered, Pierce fakes an attack, frames Lucifer, and escapes. The team regroups. Maze, injured, returns after fighting off Pierce's men to save Linda, and the friends finally reconcile. Dan uses his own dark past to break Pierce's henchman, who gives up the location of a supposed sister in danger. It's a trap. Lucifer and Chloe walk right into the ambush. Pierce and his men surround them. He needs to kill Lucifer to be free. Chloe stands in front of Lucifer, daring Kane to shoot. He pulls the trigger, but the bullets never hit her. Lucifer shields her with his angelic wings, absorbing every shot.
Finish it!
He carries her to the safety of the roof and returns to hunt Cain down. In a brutal final showdown, Lucifer kills the world's first murderer with one of Maze's blades. As he dies, Pierce taunts him, saying he can never escape his true nature. Guilt and hatred consume him, and the devil's face returns. In that exact moment, Chloe enters the room and sees him in his true form, whispering, "It's all true."
It's all true.
Ella, our beloved girl who lives in her little moonlit world, tries to keep some sense of normalcy, yet nothing about her life is normal. She isn't just distracted at a crime scene, she's being haunted. A shadow from her past, named Ray Ray, a ghost only she can see, is pressuring her to give up on going home. As the investigation of a bizarre murder throws them into a furry convention, with synthetic fur and ketchup as clues, the real manipulation is happening between the lines. Ray Ray pretends to know the victim from the other side to gain Ella's trust, but her game is different, to stop her from returning to a family who she claims only uses her. Meanwhile, Dan is humiliated by a child witness who makes a fool out of him and runs away, forcing him to swallow his pride and ask Lucifer for help. The result? A chaotic chase that proves the devil and children don't mix. The clues in the main case close in on Anthony, a father furious that his daughter wasn't normal enough. He attacks Ella, but he has no idea who he's messing with. She neutralizes him seconds before Chloe arrives to arrest him. With the case solved, Ella takes a leap of faith and confesses to Chloe, "I see a ghost." Chloe's reaction? Total acceptance, cementing a friendship forged in weirdness. But as Ray Ray says her goodbyes, Lucifer overhears something familiar. He confronts the ghost, and the mask drops. This is no ordinary lost soul. It's Azrael, the angel of death, his sister, and she confesses. She has been moving the pieces on the cosmic chessboard for years, ensuring Ella moved to LA for one reason only, so her two favorite people in the universe, Lucifer and Ella, could be together. After the revelation that an angel played Cupid, a question echoes from the highest of heavens, narrated by God himself. What if one bullet had missed its mark? In a mirrored reality, Chloe's father survives. The result? Chloe Decker never becomes a detective. She becomes a Hollywood star who pretends to be one. The world is turned upside down. Dan is a corrupt cop, Linda a vapid TV therapist, and Amina Deal a bitter homeless angel. The trigger for this new story is a murder outside Lux, which freezes Lucifer's expansion plans. Determined to solve the case, he crosses paths with actress Chloe Decker, a friend of the victim, who is also hunting for the truth on her own. They start as rivals, two forces of nature on a collision course, but soon realize their chemistry is undeniable and that together they are unstoppable. The investigation drags them into a Hollywood-worthy conspiracy, revealing the victim planned a heist with the stunt coordinator. When he backed out to become a NASCAR driver, he was silenced forever. In the final showdown, Lucifer takes a bullet and nothing happens. In this reality, Chloe isn't his vulnerability. Seeing this, she uses her acting and combat skills to take down the killer. In the end, Chloe's father confesses he was overprotective, and she, inspired by the thrill of the chase, decides to become a real detective. And Lucifer, fascinated by this version of her, suggests he might just tag along. The divine lesson is clear. No matter the circumstances, some souls are fated to meet and follow their true passions. The essence of who they are is immutable, and that truth is about to be tested like never before in the reality that matters. 1 month of deafening silence since Chloe saw his demon face. Lucifer, lost in denial, takes out his fury on a petty thief, only to give him a second chance in a desperate attempt to prove to himself that people can change. Maze confronts him, but he refuses to seek Chloe out. He thinks she needs space. Little does he know what she's really doing with that time. Suddenly, she's back. In the middle of a crime scene, Chloe reappears with a manufactured calm that's more chilling than any scream. She insists she's fine, ready to work. The case plunges them into the world of the mob, but the real investigation is the cat and mouse game between them. Lucifer flashes his powers, his devilish nature, waiting for any reaction. She gives him nothing, treating it all as one big metaphor. The hunt for a corrupt US Marshal culminates in a moment of pure truth. To save a life, Lucifer stops a speeding car with his bare hands, right in front of Chloe. Infernal power in the service of good. It's enough. That night at Lux, she finally lets her guard down. She comforts him, tells him she saw her partner in that moment, not a monster. A truce? Acceptance? For a second, Lucifer believes it. But the acceptance was a mask. Away from the devil's eyes, Chloe meets with a mysterious priest, Father Kinley, and the plan to exorcise Lucifer from her life is officially underway. With Father Kinley's twisted blessing, Chloe returns to Los Angeles with a vial of poison in her pocket and a mission in her heart: to banish the devil forever. The stage for this drama is a murder on a reality TV show, a universe of falsehood that perfectly mirrors the double life she's leading. Lucifer, blind to the betrayal, asks her on a date. She deflects, using the case as a shield while guilt eats away at her. Meanwhile, a miracle occurs. Linda discovers she's pregnant with an angel's child. The first ever half-celestial baby is on the way, and the shock leaves her and Amina Deal floored. Back on the case, the tension explodes. Lucifer cuts himself in front of Chloe, and to his horror, he bleeds. He then reveals the most dangerous truth of all. He only becomes vulnerable, mortal, when he's near her. Her weapon was never the poison. It was her. The reality show killer is caught, and in the confrontation, Lucifer doesn't hesitate. He throws himself in front of a bullet to save her, proving his vulnerability is real and his loyalty absolute. The sacrifice breaks her. She can't go through with it. She confronts Kinley, abandons the plan, and declares that the devil has changed. But the defeated priest has one last card to play. If he can't use the detective to destroy Lucifer, he'll use the truth. And he goes straight to the source, ready to poison Lucifer's soul with the one thing that can destroy him: Chloe's betrayal. The bomb drops. Father Kinley tells Lucifer everything, and the seed of distrust blossoms into pure poison. Every word from Chloe is now a test, and she lies, denying any involvement with the priest. The new case perfectly reflects his torment. Former gang members murdered while trying to turn their lives around. The question echoes at the crime scene: is redemption real or just an illusion? In another corner of the city, Dan, fed up with the rules, teams up with Maze for a session of brutal justice, finding a dark relief in the violence that consumes him. But the real conspiracy is far more sinister. Chloe uncovers the truth. Kinley orchestrated the murders. He used a desperate follower to force Lucifer to show his devil face to the Vatican, all to prove an ancient prophecy. Chloe arrests Kinley, proving her loyalty to Lucifer. Too late, the damage is irreparable. In their final confrontation, he corners her. He knows about the betrayal, and he asks the question that will define everything: can you accept me? Not a part of me, all of it. The angel, the devil, the monster. Her hesitation, the silence that follows, is the only answer he needs. Trust is shattered. Heartbroken, Lucifer returns to Lux. But he's not alone. Waiting for him in the shadows is a figure from his deepest past: Eve, the original sinner. And she didn't come for a visit. She came to stay. The partnership is over. At a crime scene, Chloe informs Dan that she and Lucifer are history. While she investigates the theft of a $1 million necklace, he's at Lux, drowning his sorrows in an apocalyptic party. That's when she appears. Eve, the first woman, bored with paradise,
Eve?
Hey, Luce.
has escaped to Earth in search of the only thrill that truly matters: her ex, the devil. Their night is interrupted by a kidnapping gone wrong. Lucifer is shot in the face and gets up laughing, much to Eve's shock. He realizes the attack is connected to Chloe's case and strikes a deal with a crime lord. He retrieves the necklace, and Eve will be left in peace. In parallel, celestial reality comes knocking for Linda and Amenadiel. The ultrasound reveals that the first half-angel baby in history is a boy.
You're having a boy.
A boy?
And panic sets in. Lucifer's and Chloe's investigations collide at a bar, resulting in an all-out brawl. In the midst of the chaos, Lucifer is wounded. He's vulnerable around her. Eve sees everything. Meanwhile, Chloe seeks advice from Linda, and the two connect over the weight of knowing the divine truth. Determined, Chloe heads to the final showdown, a clandestine auction. There, the unlikely trio recovers the jewel and arrests the real killer. But the night isn't over yet. Back at the penthouse, Eve reveals she stole the necklace back just so the adventure wouldn't end. She confesses she came back for him, that she isn't afraid of his darkness. She asks to see it, and when Lucifer reveals his devil face, she doesn't flinch. She moves closer, and passion explodes. Life with Eve is a never-ending party, and Lucifer is exhausted. Dr. Linda gives him the diagnosis. He needs closure with Chloe. The perfect chance arises with a new case, and to go undercover, the detective needs a classic car that only Lucifer has. He agrees. One last mission together, the end of an era. The investigation of a double murder leads them to an an ex-soldier, Marco, who invades Lux with a bomb, taking everyone hostage. His demand to find his ex-wife, Leona. While Dan and Maze race against time, the clock on the bomb ticks down. Leona arrives, but instead of peace, she brings betrayal, stabbing Marco and grabbing the detonator. She was the mastermind behind it all, and now everyone will go up in smoke with her secret. In the chaos, while an accidentally drugged Ella tries to disarm the bomb, Chloe creates the perfect diversion. She puts herself in the line of fire, luring Leona into a SWAT trap. At the moment of the attack, Chloe throws herself in front of Lucifer to protect him. The bomb is deactivated. Leona is arrested, and seeing her sacrifice, Lucifer understands everything. The closure he was looking for wasn't a goodbye. It was the confirmation that he could never leave her. He reaffirms their partnership, ready for a new beginning. But when he gets home, reality hits him. Eve, oblivious to it all, calls him her boyfriend, and Lucifer's tension is almost palpable. He's trapped between the woman who makes him vulnerable and the woman who celebrates him for being a monster. Balance is impossible. Lucifer tries to be Chloe's partner by day and the king of hedonism with Eve by night, and the result is a disaster. He shows up late and in costume to a crime scene, leading to a nasty fight with the detective. Meanwhile, a new celestial threat arrives. Ramiel, Amenadiel's sister, has sensed the baby and has come to take him to heaven, forcing Amenadiel to hide his own family. A murder investigation leads Lucifer and Ella to a nudist colony, where the son of a corrupt tycoon becomes the prime suspect, but his father's power gets him off the hook, leaving the police with their hands tied. Feeling left out, Eve confronts Lucifer, accusing him of pretending to be good and encouraging him to embrace who he really is. Her words pierce him, especially when the investigation reveals the suspect runs a human trafficking operation. A shootout at the docks, a dead police officer, and the blame falls on Lucifer. Dan calls him a wrecking ball, and he breaks down, convinced that his attempt to be good only brings ruin. He goes back to Eve, who welcomes him. "Stop pretending," she says. "Be the devil." His eyes flash red. He accepts. Far away, Maze makes peace with Linda, accepting her role as anti-Maze. But the peace is short-lived. In the final scene, Lucifer corners the trafficker. No police, no rules. He reveals himself in his full demonic form, ready to deliver punishment. And with a dark smile, he admits, this finally feels right.
This feels just right.
The devil and his queen. Lucifer and Eve become a vigilante duo, hunting down sinners to give them what they deserve. Dan, consumed by rage, suspects Lucifer crippled the criminal Julian McCaffrey, but Chloe defends him. Far from Earth, a celestial war looms. Ramiel demands to take Amenadiel's son, believing the human world will corrupt him. The new case, a dealer killed with a golden pistol, leads Lucifer and Eve straight to the crime scene, much to Chloe's fury. The clues point to Jacob Tiernan, Julian's father, who is seeking revenge. Guilt gnaws at Lucifer, and he confesses to Chloe. Yes, he was the one who broke Julian's back. Driven by an unfathomable frustration, Dan does the unthinkable. He goes to Tiernan and gives up Lucifer's name, throwing him to the wolves. Shortly after, assassins storm the penthouse. Lucifer is forced to reveal his devil face to protect Trixie and Eve. Chloe, filled with regret, convinces him to follow the rules, reminding him that he's also an angel. He relents and turns Tiernan over to the police, a victory for the good guys. But as Father Kinley reveals an apocalyptic prophecy to Chloe, when the devil walks the earth and finds his first love, evil shall be released. Lucifer discovers the true price of his actions. He looks at his back, expecting to see angel wings. What he finds is a nightmare of leather and claws. Demon wings. The prophecy was beginning. Monstrous wings. Lucifer is in a panic, desperately trying to fix himself. When Chloe tells him about the prophecy, the conclusion is obvious and terrifying. Eve is his first love, and to save the world, he has to break up with her. But every attempt to push her away only brings her closer, convinced that his bizarre acts are proof of his love. In parallel, the injustice of the mortal world hits Amenadiel hard. While trying to help a young man, Caleb, escape a gang, he witnesses the boy being wrongfully arrested and is nearly shot by the police. The human system is flawed, and the seed of doubt about raising his son on Earth is planted. Ironically, Chloe and Lucifer's investigation proves Caleb's innocence. Finally, Lucifer does it. He breaks up with Eve, admitting the brutal truth. He doesn't like the person he becomes when he's with her. But the night plunges into tragedy. Caleb, freed from jail, is murdered by the gang. Blind with rage, Amenadiel hunts them down and destroys them, deciding then and there that his son will not grow up in this broken world. world. And for Lucifer, the breakup heals nothing. He goes to Dr. Linda, and the facade finally crumbles. In pure agony, he confesses what haunts him more than heaven and hell combined. I hate myself. The confession didn't bring peace. It brought the apocalypse. By accepting his self-hatred, Lucifer's body begins to rebel. His demonic form is uncontrollably leaking out, starting with his hand. Meanwhile, Eve, refusing to give up, teams up with Maze for a desperate plan to win him back, but their attempts to make him jealous only push Lucifer further into the abyss. The case of the week, the murder of a twin, leads to a confession that mirrors Lucifer's torment. The guilty sister admits to having ruined everything she touched. The words hit him like a physical blow. Desperate, Eve makes her biggest mistake. She frees Father Kinley, hoping he'll help her, but he has other plans. He wants to kill her to stop the prophecy. Eve is faster. She kills him first, but not before using his body as a messenger to hell with a clear message: come get your king. At the peak of his transformation, monstrous and out of control, Lucifer confronts Chloe. He expects her to run. Instead, she stays. She looks him in the eye and tells him the truth he needed to hear. He has to forgive himself.
You need to forgive yourself.
I can't.
Her unconditional acceptance breaks the curse, and he returns to normal. At the hospital, Linda gives birth to Charlie, but the joy is short-lived. A Manadiel, keeping his promise, takes the baby and flies to the heavens, and at that same moment, Eve's message reaches its destination. Demons emerge from hell, possessing the recently deceased. The invasion has begun. They've come for their king, cured. That's what Lucifer thinks. After forgiving himself, he believes he has mastered his demonic side forever. But while he ends his therapy session in a state of euphoria, the rest of the world is on high alert. Chloe is wary, and Maze discovers Eve's lie about Father Kinley. The investigation into a bizarre murder, a rapper walking around with a knife in his chest, leads them to the terrifying truth. Kinley's body is now a vessel for Dromos, a demon summoned to force Lucifer's return to hell. Lucifer banishes him, but it's too late. The demon's true plan is revealed in the cruelest way possible. Charlie, Linda, and a Manadiel's baby is kidnapped. The demons don't want Lucifer. They want to create a new king of hell. A guilt-ridden Eve confesses everything. It was her. In a twisted attempt to win him back, she summoned hell to earth. The final battle takes place at the Mayan theater. In the middle of the fight, Chloe's proximity makes Lucifer vulnerable. To save everyone, he has no choice. He embraces his true form, the king of hell in all his terrifying glory, and commands his subjects to return home.
You do not belong here. Go home.
Instead of fear, Chloe looks at the monster she loves and confesses, I love you. The victory is bittersweet. Lucifer understands the prophecy. Hell can't be left without a king, or chaos will reign on earth. He has to go back. He tells Chloe that she wasn't his first love, but she was his true love. And with one last kiss, he sacrifices his happiness, abandons earth, and returns to his throne of fire and pain, leaving a heartbroken Chloe behind.
Don't go.
Millennia. That's how long passes for Lucifer on his lonely throne in hell. He is a bored and indifferent king until a new soul arrives with a story, a murder in Los Angeles. Nostalgia hits him. From inside a man's hell loop, Lucifer decides to solve one last case. On Earth, only 2 months have passed. Chloe has thrown herself into work alongside Maze, while Amenadiel tries to keep Lux running. The investigations unfold on 2 planes of existence. On Earth, Chloe and Maze follow the clues. In hell, Lucifer interrogates the man's memories, discovering his real guilt was abandoning his family. To help the detective he can't have, Lucifer sends a demon with a clue, which leads her straight into an ambush. Just as she's about to be killed, she's saved by Lucifer. He's there, in the flesh, taking down the thugs. Chloe's joy is immense, but something is different. He explains that millennia have passed for him. The reunion is sweet, but strange, but it's all a lie. Back in hell, the real Lucifer is still on his throne, and he reveals the shocking truth. He never left. The Lucifer who saved Chloe on Earth is an imposter. His name is Michael, and he is Lucifer's twin brother. He begins to weave his web of lies across Earth, deceiving Ella and Dan with a new, friendly demeanor. But Chloe isn't fooled. This doppelganger lies, something the real devil would never do. Maze is the first to rip off his mask, and he reveals his plan, to destroy Lucifer's life out of sheer jealousy and prove he is unworthy. He offers Maze an alliance. While investigating a murder on a Mars simulation set, Chloe struggles internally, wanting to believe the man she loves has simply changed. But Michael's attempts to mimic Lucifer's powers are a parlor trick based on fear, not desire, and Chloe's suspicions are confirmed. She sets a trap. Pretending to accept him, she lures him to the penthouse and shoots him in the leg. He doesn't bleed. The real Lucifer is vulnerable around her. The game is up. Cornered, Michael plays his cruelest card. Chloe isn't a miracle from God. She's a gift, a puppet manufactured specifically for the devil. As the revelation shatters Chloe's world, Amenadiel understands the true threat. He flies to hell in search of the only person who can stop this war, the true king. The threat to Charlie and Michael's rise in the Silver City forced Lucifer's hand. He returns to Earth, but the first battle isn't against his brother. It's against Chloe's mistrust. He's forced to confirm Michael's devastating truth. He knew she was a gift all along. For Chloe, her love, her choices, it all becomes a lie, and she pulls away, heartbroken. The Case of the Week is a cruel mirror of their situation. A showrunner who created a series based on Lucifer's life is murdered. Art imitates a life that is now in shambles. In parallel, Maze's fury explodes. She feels abandoned and betrayed that Lucifer left her behind. The investigation reveals a second murder and a surprising truth. The supporting actress killed them both to free herself from a role that imprisoned her. The climax is a family war. Michael reveals that he was the architect of Lucifer's fall, planting the seed of rebellion eons ago. In a blind rage, Lucifer disfigures his twin's face. The violence spills over into an explosive fight with Chloe, both of them feeling powerless, broken, and alone. The night, however, holds one last betrayal. Michael, wounded but not defeated, finds Maze and promises her the one thing she desires, a soul. And to get it, she will have to side with him against Lucifer. The war is just beginning. With Chloe heartbroken and needing time, Lucifer finds himself doing the unthinkable, a night of babysitting Trixie. To distract her and himself, he delves into the past, a black and white 1946 New York, to tell the origin story of his ring. The story reveals a pact with none other than Lilith, Maze's mother, on a hunt for her stolen jewel. The investigation lands him alongside a down-on-his-luck private eye, tormented by the discovery that his own marriage was a sham, but what seemed to be just a robbery concealed a cosmic secret. The ring wasn't magical. It was the vessel for Lilith's immortality. In a shocking twist, she decides to give up eternal life, desiring the mortality that humans so fear. She passes the power to Lucifer with a single cruel condition, that he never reveal the truth to her children, so that the legend of her unwavering strength would keep them strong. Little did Lucifer know that his story would light a dangerous fuse. Armed with the information Michael gave her, Maze finally finds her mother, now a frail, mortal old woman. The reunion is icy. Lilith offers no love, only the cold justification that abandonment forged her. The blow devastates Maze, leaving her with a shattered heart and a question hanging in the air. How do you recover from a wound inflicted by your own mother? Still reeling from his mother's rejection, Maze seeks comfort in Linda, only to unearth another devastating secret. The therapist also has a daughter, given up for adoption years ago. Meanwhile, Lucifer desperately tries to fix things with Chloe, but his urgency is brutally interrupted by news that shakes the pillars of creation. Amenadiel returns from hell with a proclamation from God. Hell no longer needs a warden. With Lucifer away, Chloe dives into the murder investigation of a nun, but this time, she enlists Amenadiel's help. The angel discovers a new power. He reflects people's faith, causing them to confess their deepest secrets. It's during this investigation that he drops the bomb. He was the one who blessed Chloe's mother, making her birth an orchestrated miracle. The revelation shatters her, making her feel like a pawn in a divine game, a gift created for Lucifer. The nun's killer is found, but the true revelation comes from Amenadiel. He theorizes that Chloe's power isn't to nullify Lucifer's, but the opposite. Lucifer chooses to be vulnerable around her, and her gift is to see him for who he truly is. With this new perspective, Chloe realizes her love is a choice, not destiny. She runs to Lucifer, and finally, the two give in to each other. But as their love blossoms, tragedy strikes Maze's door. Lilith is dead. The chance for one last word, for any kind of closure, has been stolen forever, leaving her to crumble in the arms of Linda, the only mother she has left. Lucifer and Chloe's peace is short-lived. A DJ is electrocuted live on stage, and the investigation throws them right into a trap from the past. The real target wasn't the victim, but the famous DJ Carnal, who happens to be Jed, an ex-boyfriend of Chloe's. Lucifer's jealousy explodes, convinced it's all a ploy by Jed to win the detective's detective back, a paranoia that only intensifies when his rival studio conveniently explodes, destroying all the evidence. Meanwhile, Maze, haunted by the ghost of her mother, decides she won't end up alone. Her therapy with Linda leads her to a desperate conclusion. To find connection, she needs to be more like Ella. Across town, Ella finally decides to give the reporter Pete a chance, unaware of what fate has in store for her. The hunt for the killer leads to a party at Lux, but the culprit isn't the obsessed fan they expected. It's the jealous husband of a woman Jed had an affair with. During the confrontation, Chloe unloads her feelings, a speech clearly aimed at Lucifer. With the case solved and the masks off, they finally meet. Apologies are made, the tension dissipates, and the night ends with them together with no more barriers between them, or so they thought. Lucifer and Chloe's first morning together brings not breakfast in bed, but a celestial plot twist. His mojo is now hers. The devil, stripped of his greatest power, goes into a tailspin, feeling useless and vulnerable just when he should feel his strongest. The identity crisis is cut short by a new case, an opera singer with her vocal cords brutally severed. Far away, the real threat moves in the shadows. An angel approaches Dan at Charlotte's grave, introducing himself as Archangel Michael, Lucifer's twin brother. He begins to poison Dan's mind, exploiting his grief to turn him into a weapon. Back on the investigation, a second body appears, confirming the worst. A serial killer is on the loose, hunting powerful women. The clues lead them to a revelation that destroys everything. The killer is Pete, Ella's new and seemingly perfect boyfriend. In the final confrontation, the devil finds himself completely defenseless, paralyzed by the killer. It's Chloe who becomes the savior, subduing the criminal. Lucifer finally understands that his vulnerability isn't weakness, but the price of love. Just as they finally reconnect, the door bursts open. Dan,
Dearie me.
his eyes filled with Michael's venom, storms into the apartment and shoots Lucifer at point-blank range. The gunshot echoes, leaving a single question. Is this the end for the devil on Earth? The shot rings out, but the bullet merely crumples against Lucifer's chest. His invulnerability has returned, even with Chloe by his side. Dan, confronted with the irrefutable proof of Lucifer's divinity, flees in a panic. While the devil deals with the betrayal, Chloe investigates the serial killer case, only to discover the first one is still at large. Before she can act, she's kidnapped. The truth drops like an anvil. The kidnapper is Michael. He doesn't want a ransom. He wants to break Lucifer by using the only person who matters. As Michael tries to poison Chloe's mind, an unlikely alliance forms to rescue her: Lucifer, Dan, and Maze. After the rescue, the confrontation everyone was waiting for happens. Chloe presses him. With his powers back, is he closing himself off again? She demands to know what he truly feels. At the exact moment Lucifer is about to say the three words that would change everything, the world stops. Literally, a Manadial, panicking upon discovering his son is mortal, freezes time. It's the perfect cue for Michael to appear, revealing his master plan of manipulation and bringing an unexpected ally. Maze, to whom he has promised the one thing she desires, a soul. The precinct becomes a celestial battlefield, angel against angel, demon against devil, and at the height of the chaos, when all seems lost, a voice thunders, stopping the fight instantly, a voice not heard on Earth for millennia.
That's enough.
God has arrived. In the silence of frozen time, God confronts his children, but Lucifer wants no part of a forced family reunion. He flees the second time resumes, leaving Chloe behind, confused and alone. As Amenadiel and God discuss little Charlie's future, an idea emerges: a family dinner to resolve millennia of resentment. What could possibly go wrong? A murder at a mini golf course becomes a bizarre mirror to the celestial drama, featuring a dysfunctional family and a dead son. Lucifer projects all his rage onto the case, while Maze confronts God face to face, demanding the soul Michael promised her. God's refusal, telling her she's perfect as she is, only fills her with more fury. The family dinner, as expected, is a disaster. The tension erupts in a torrent of accusations. Lucifer finally throws all of God's failings as a father in his face. The absence, the silence, the inability to say, "I love you." God's empty response only confirms Lucifer's worst fear. Inspired by the case's resolution, where the girlfriend accidentally killed the victim while trying to save him from his toxic family, Lucifer makes a devastating decision. He tells Chloe he can never love her because, just like his father, he is incapable of love. It would all be a lie. Despite the blow, Chloe refuses to give up. She knows Lucifer is capable of love, even if he doesn't believe it. Their attempt to maintain a professional relationship is tested by a new case and a cosmic anomaly. God's presence on Earth is turning the world into a musical. Interrogations, confessions, and tense moments transform into spontaneous stage numbers. A passive-aggressive way for God to communicate. Chloe, fed up with the drama, confronts the Almighty directly, accusing him of being a terrible father. Meanwhile, Amenadiel grapples with the disappointment of having a completely mortal son, creating friction with Linda. In a clumsy attempt to reconnect, Lucifer invites God to live with him, but their cohabitation and a therapy session with Linda only make things worse. The murder case is solved, but the real showdown happens between father and son. Lucifer accuses God of ruining the one good thing in his life by returning his invulnerability, stealing the connection he only felt around Chloe. Cornered, God finally admits the terrifying truth he's been hiding behind the musicals and erratic behavior. His powers are failing. He is losing control of the universe.
My powers, son. I think I'm losing control of them.
The failure of God's powers becomes undeniable when he accidentally explodes and reconstructs Dan's hand in front of the entire precinct. Panic sets in. He needs to return to heaven and fast. But in one last, desperate attempt to connect with his son, God does the unthinkable. He becomes human, abdicating his divine powers. Now vulnerable, God insists on helping Lucifer with the murder investigation of an MMA fighter, which leads to a drug buy that goes horribly wrong. Their cover is blown, and for the first time in history, God's life is in real danger. Seeing his father in peril awakens a protective fury in Lucifer, who reveals his devil face to save the day. The problem is, as a human, God can't remember where he hid his divinity. While his sons search desperately, a conversation with Trixie sparks a memory. He hid his power in his grandson's rattle. After retrieving his divinity and making peace with everyone, God gathers his children for an announcement that will shake not just Earth, but all realms of existence. He is retiring, and the throne of heaven is officially vacant. The revelation that Lucifer is the devil has broken Dan Espinosa. Seeking an escape, he accepts a simple mission in Mexico, only to fall into a trap set by his old partner, Luis. Dan wakes up next to a corpse with the Russian mob on his tail, and discovers he's been used as a pawn in a deadly game. Luis poisons him and gives him an ultimatum: commit a murder in 10 hours or die. Desperate, Dan calls the one person who can solve a problem like this, Amenadiel. What follows is a race against time, involving biker gangs, deaths, and Maze's risky plan to trade the traitor for the antidote. The exchange is set at Lux, but it all explodes into a chaotic shootout. In the crossfire, Maze is hit and dies in Dan's arms.
Adios, amigo.
But then, the impossible happens. Maze gets up. They all get up. The shootout, the poison, the betrayal in Mexico. It was all a charade. $1 million prank. Orchestrated down to the last detail by Lucifer as elaborate and theatrical payback for Dan shooting him. Shocked, broken, but strangely free, Dan finally overcomes his trauma. The most expensive prank in history ends up being the therapy he needed. With Dan finally at peace, Maze has a shocking revelation for Linda. She thinks she's growing a soul. The session is interrupted by a murder that shatters Linda's world. To protect her biological daughter, Adriana, whom she'd been watching from afar, Linda takes the fall for the crime. But the truth is more complex, involving an art theft scheme and manipulation. Meanwhile, Lucifer, feeling an emptiness after his grand revenge, finds a new purpose. If his father has retired, someone has to take the job. His decision is made. He will be the new god. Chloe, understandably, panics. At the same time, the fear of losing Eve in a confrontation solidifies Maze's ambition, but in another direction. She doesn't want a soul. She wants a throne. She will be the new queen of hell. The murder investigation reveals that Adriana's boyfriend manipulated her to frame her. In an act of maternal fury, Linda confronts and stops him. With the case solved, Adriana and Linda finally connect. But the real bombshell of the evening is yet to come. Lucifer faces Amenadiel without a shred of doubt in his voice, and declares his intention for all the cosmos to hear. I'm going to be God.
I'm going to be God.
Lucifer's campaign to become God begins, but heaven is nothing like Earth. His angelic siblings see him as unworthy. God returns for a surprise retirement party, turning the succession into a celestial reality show. A murder at an aquarium, where the owner kills an employee for playing God, gives Lucifer an epiphany. His father doesn't want a retirement plan. He wants to reunite with his wife. Using Gabriel's powers, Lucifer brings the goddess back from her universe.
Mom?
Hello, my sweet boy.
The reunion is all it takes. God and goddess depart together, leaving the succession for their children to settle amongst themselves.
Goodbye, my loves.
With the path clear, Lucifer receives Chloe's support, who shocks everyone by deciding to quit the police force to become the first lady of the divine campaign. But the peace is short-lived. Rimiel, his spy in heaven, brings a terrible warning. Michael isn't playing fair. He's gathering support for a war. Michael reveals his trump card, Azrael's flaming blade, the only weapon in the universe capable of killing an angel for good. The election is over. The war has begun. Lucifer's campaign for the celestial throne is a failure. His siblings reject him, and time is running out. On Earth, he and Chloe investigate one last case together, the death of a morgue attendant. The investigation leads them into a web of charlatan psychics and a fence for stolen goods with superhuman strength. TJ. As Chloe makes her retirement official, shocking Dan, Amenadiel decides to become a police officer, seeking a new purpose. But the real tragedy unfolds in the shadows. Dan, investigating alone, is kidnapped by mercenaries. The team rushes to rescue him, but arrives too late. He dies in Chloe's arms, whispering a single word. Caleb, the word, is the key.
It's Caleb. Caleb.
Caleb was the boy in whom Amenadiel hid his necklace, the final piece of the flaming blade. Michael wasn't just campaigning. He was assembling creation's most powerful weapon. TJ wasn't strong. He had the necklace. Amidst the grief, Lucifer admits he only wants to be God to feel worthy of Chloe. The confession enrages her, but the final blow comes at the funeral. Lucifer discovers that Dan's guilt, manipulated by Michael, has damned him. Dan isn't in heaven. He's in hell, consumed by rage against a broken system. Lucifer's ambition shifts. He no longer wants to be God. He needs to be. The war for heaven is imminent. Michael arrives with a final offer. Lucifer rules hell with Chloe by his side, revealing that Dan's death was calculated to ensure her own guilt would damn her to the same fate. The discovery of the angel Remiel's body, however, gives Chloe the clue they needed. Michael is bluffing. He doesn't have the complete flaming blade yet. The hunt for the final piece leads to a brutal confrontation. Michael kills TJ, completes the blade, and calls for the final vote, which quickly erupts into a full-blown battle. Maze arrives with an army of demons, evening the odds. But in the midst of the chaos, Michael commits the unthinkable. He stabs Chloe. Desperate, Lucifer breaks the ultimate rule. He flies to heaven to save her, knowing his banishment means certain destruction. There he finds her and proves that redemption is possible. As the power of his ring of immortality fades, he makes the final choice. He sacrifices himself, giving Chloe the ring and confessing his love before bursting into flames. Chloe returns to Earth, immortal and furious, ready to kill Michael. But at the last second, Lucifer reappears, resurrected. He doesn't kill his brother, he cuts off his wings. With this act of sacrifice and mercy, every single angel bows. The war is over. Lucifer Morningstar has become God. A month after the war, the throne of heaven remains empty. Lucifer, now God-elect, postpones his ascension to spend one last normal night with Chloe at a magic club. But fate has other plans. The headlining magician is murdered on stage, and Chloe, though retired, can't resist the call of duty. The investigation, much to Lucifer's frustration, reveals a family drama. The veteran magician's son killed the victim to force the sale of the show. During the confrontation, Chloe, secretly armed with Amenadiel's necklace, subdues the killer with superhuman strength, proving she's no longer just a detective. Later, Lucifer confesses the truth. He's afraid that becoming God will change what they have. She reassures him, her faith in him unwavering. While Maze and Eve get engaged, deciding to live on Earth, Lucifer faces his first challenge as the future God, saving Dan. He descends to hell and finds him trapped in a guilt loop, playing ping pong for eternity. A frustrated Dan demands understands Lucifer only return when he has a real solution. The new god is in power, but his first official act is a failure, leaving him with a problem that not even omnipotence seems able to solve. Their first night of love after the war brings an unexpected consequence. Lucifer's invulnerability returns, a sign that he finally feels worthy. But Amenadiel pressures him. The universe needs a god. Seeking a purpose, Lucifer decides that to prepare for the throne, he must help someone he dislikes. Detective Carol Corbett, Ella's new partner and love interest. While a new murder brings them together, Ella, haunted by her serial killer ex-boyfriend, suspects Carol. Her secret investigations only reveal that he's a recovering alcoholic, deepening her guilt. Lucifer, in a botched attempt to help, tries to turn Carol into a bad boy, but the plan fails miserably. The truth about the murder comes to light. The manager of a drag queen club killed the victim out of jealousy. With the case solved, Carol and Ella finally open up to each other. Lucifer, however, feels he has failed, as he ended up caring about Carol. But while he worries about his feelings, the universe begins to unravel. A frog falls from the sky, a dark omen. And far away in hell, a mysterious angel interrogates Dan, obsessed with finding out how to kill Lucifer. A new enemy is making a move, and the god-elect doesn't even know he's being hunted. The world is glitching, subtle signs of chaos are popping up everywhere, and Lucifer, back at square one, needs a new plan. Following Linda's advice, he decides to face his past and help the first soul he and Chloe ever put away together. Jimmy Barnes, a man he genuinely hates. There's just one catch: Jimmy is dead. The plan? A quick trip to hell. But Chloe, now supercharged with the strength from Amenadiel's necklace, isn't letting him go alone. For the first time in history, a living mortal is about to descend into the abyss. Meanwhile, the mysterious angel, Rory, rips Dan's soul out of hell and throws him back to Earth. He's a ghost now, invisible, intangible, and bait to lure Lucifer out. And down below, things are very wrong. Jimmy Barnes' hell isn't fire and brimstone, but a bizarre, dysfunctional cartoon of his own wedding. Worse yet, Lucifer has lost control. He and Chloe are sucked into the animation, becoming cartoons trapped in a hell loop. The only way out is to fix Jimmy's broken mind by diving deep into his darkest memories. On Earth, life goes on. Amenadiel starts his first day as a cop, with Maze trying to help him in a way so chaotic that it somehow ends up strengthening their friendship. Back in the animated nightmare, Lucifer and Chloe discover the source of Jimmy's torture: abandonment. A mother who left him in front of the TV with an empty promise to return. Cartoons were his only comfort, and hell turned them into his eternal punishment. By understanding Jimmy's pain, Lucifer finally connects with him, helping him face his trauma, and in the process, regaining control. That's when it clicks. If he can care for even Jimmy Barnes, he can care for anyone. He's ready to be God. But when they return to get Dan, they find his cell empty. Too late.
Wait, where's Daniel?
In the penthouse, Dan's ghost desperately tries to warn Lucifer about the angel, but she's already there. Rory attacks, and after being subdued, she drops the bombshell that will shake the foundations of heaven and earth. She is Lucifer's daughter. The revelation hit like a bomb. Rory is his daughter. Lucifer's first reaction? Utter denial. Angels can't procreate, except when they can, and little Charlie is living proof. Consumed by a lifetime of rage over his abandonment, Rory vanishes, leaving Lucifer in a crisis spiral, and Dan stranded on Earth as a ghost only celestial beings can see. Determined to prove it's all a mistake, Lucifer dives into his past, discovering he was on Earth at the time of her conception, at a party in Miami. The hunt to disprove his paternity begins. He and Chloe fly to Miami, following the trail of his past conquests. But the secret Lucifer kept, Rory's identity, Dan's return as a ghost, shakes Chloe's trust. Their partnership is hanging by a thread. Meanwhile, Dan, drowning in the loneliness of being invisible, finally finds Amenadiel and Maze, a comfort in his bizarre new existence. The investigation leads them from a former lover, now a rabbi, to a cultish farm in California, where they end up rescuing exploited children. Every lead is a dead end, and with each failure, Lucifer's true fear grows. It's not the fear of being a father, but the fear of being an absent one, of becoming the spitting image of the god he so hated. Chloe, however, remains by his side, promising they will face whatever comes, together. Finally, the last clue leads them to a girl named Mira, but she's already safe with her real father. The search was a failure, but a line from Mira's dad sparks a light in the darkness of Lucifer's mind. "I knew she was my daughter the moment I looked into her eyes." He remembers. He felt that same visceral, undeniable connection when he looked at Rory. In a confession to Dan, he finally admits the truth. Yes, Rory is his daughter.
She's my daughter.
And as Lucifer can barely process this reality, Rory makes her next move. She appears in Chloe's apartment, where Trixie is sleeping soundly. With a blood-chilling calm, she looks at Chloe and says,
Hi, Mom.
a stranger is in Chloe's apartment. She claims to be her and Lucifer's daughter from the future. The story is absurd until the girl reveals her full name, Rory, short for Aurora. The name Chloe kept secret, the name she had always dreamed of for a daughter. It's enough. The truth hits her like a ton of bricks. Elsewhere in the city, Dan's ghost tries to haunt Amenadiel, searching for purpose in his afterlife, while Ella, the only mortal to connect the dots, is certain the apocalypse has begun. But Amenadiel, blinded by his own crisis, ignores her warnings. The inevitable confrontation happens. Rory, Lucifer, and Chloe together. She explains she traveled through time, driven by a lifetime of anger. He abandoned her. Lucifer, shocked, refuses to believe he would ever do that. There's only one logical explanation for him. He didn't disappear. He was murdered, erased from existence with Azrael's blade. His plan? Return the blade to heaven, but that would deactivate Chloe's powers. She convinces him to do something even more insane, investigate his own future murder. Armed with Rory's clues, an address in Van Nuys and the date August 4th, they find the future crime scene. The investigation turns into a comedy of errors that destroys the life of a dental office receptionist who vows to kill Lucifer. Bingo, murderer found. But upon testing him, Lucifer discovers Azrael's blade is gone. His first suspect? Rory. The tension explodes in therapy with Dr. Linda. Lucifer's accusation devastates Rory. It's then that Chloe confesses it was her. She hid the blade to protect him, but the necklace's power has corrupted her. Addicted to the strength, she attacks Lucifer, nearly killing him with the very weapon she wanted to keep away from him. Horrified at herself, she begs him to get rid of the blade. Before returning it, Lucifer uses its power one last time, allowing Chloe to see and say goodbye to Dan's ghost. Amid the pain, they find a moment of peace.
Can you give us a few hours?
Of course.
But the wound with Rory remains open, and Maze gives him crucial advice. Stop thinking about the future and fix the now. Lucifer decides to take Maze's advice, but in his own way. He tries to fix decades of absence with grand, clumsy gestures, recreating lost Christmases, giving driving lessons in his Corvette, but every attempt only pushes Rory further away. In parallel, reality comes knocking for Amenadiel. On his first day as a cop, he's confronted with the same corruption that once targeted him. His superior, Detective Rybin, ignores crucial evidence at a crime scene, eager to close the case as a simple gang shooting. Amenadiel doesn't give up. He asks Ella to investigate under the table, and she finds the proof he needed, pointing to a wounded witness. At the same time, Lucifer's surprise party for Rory is a disaster. In a pain-filled confrontation, she screams what she really wants, for him to leave her alone. Far from there, Amenadiel and his partner Harris find the witness, only to walk into an ambush. The shootout draws Rybin in backup, but what should have been a rescue becomes a shocking display of corrupt power. Rybin arrests Amenadiel and the victim, letting the real shooter watch from the sidelines. It's a dark mirror of the abuse he's already suffered, a wound reopened. In the end, other evidence forces justice, and Amenadiel and Harris team up, ready to fight the system from within. Defeated and out of ideas, Lucifer resorts to one last gesture, the simplest of all. He sings to Rory. The song, a silent apology without promises or theatrics, finally seems to build the first bridge across the chasm between them. The fragile peace between Lucifer and Rory is tested almost immediately. She refuses to go to Maze and Eve's wedding. Meanwhile, Chloe makes a decision. She's going back to the forest to help Amenadiel, but the fear of telling Lucifer paralyzes her. The ceremony, meanwhile, is about to implode. Adam.
So this is the first man.
The first man and Eve's ex-husband shows up to stop the union. Eve kicks him to the curb, but the drama only escalates when they discover he kidnapped the officiant, Dr. Linda. Maze resorts to torture, her preferred method of problem solving, but Eve stops her. She sees through the cruelty. It's Maze's insecurity screaming out. Cornered, Maze confesses she was the one who arranged for Adam to show up, an act of self-sabotage because she doesn't feel worthy of Eve's love. Heartbroken, Eve calls everything off. It's Lucifer's turn to intervene. He helps Maze see her own evolution and, in a surprising gesture, brings her demon family up from hell for the ceremony. It works. They reconcile. The wedding finally happens, but the happiness is short-lived. Rory, hurt that Lucifer missed the commitment they had, confronts him. The accusation is always the same. He always puts others first. The argument reaches a boiling point, and Rory reveals the true true source of her pain, the image that has haunted her entire life. In the future, on Chloe's deathbed, Lucifer wasn't there. He didn't show up. The party is brutally interrupted by a drunk and heartbroken Ella, who grabs the mic and exposes everything. In front of everyone, she reveals that Lucifer is the devil, Amenadiel is an angel, and demons walk among them. And then, she drops the final bombshell, a truth not even the Celestials themselves knew. The world is coming to an end. The apocalypse isn't fire and brimstone, it's a glitch in the system. In Lucifer's penthouse, Ella connects the dots the angels ignored. The laws of nature are unraveling, and it's because of the empty throne in heaven. Lucifer declares it's time to take his place, the victory he fought a war for. But when he prepares for his triumphant flight, nothing happens. His wings, for the first time, refuse to obey. It's a mental block. Deep down, he doesn't feel ready. While Amenadiel ascends to the Silver City to assess the damage, Lucifer rushes to Dr. Linda. There, he discovers she's written a book about him and becomes convinced the answer to his problem lies within its pages. Reading the manuscript becomes a chaotic group therapy session. Ella feels betrayed, reduced to a stereotype, and hurt that her friends hid the truth from her for so long. Maze, trying to help Dan's ghost, realizes that Lucifer unintentionally sabotaged his redemption by pulling him out of hell too soon. And Chloe sees a terrifying pattern. With every emotional breakthrough, Lucifer disappears. She fears his "I love you" is the prelude to his greatest vanishing act. The tension explodes when Rory confronts him. To prove his love is real, a conscious choice, Lucifer makes himself vulnerable as never before and dares his own daughter to shoot him.
I am your father, and I demand that you shoot me. Come on, Rory. Go on, shoot me!
The bullet wounds him, proving his mind and heart are finally aligned. The breakthrough is so powerful it leads him to a shocking realization. He is ready to be God, but he doesn't want the job. His true calling isn't to rule, it's something else. Just as a sense of clarity seems to take hold of the chaos, Amenadiel returns from heaven with terrible news. The apocalypse hasn't stopped. In fact, it's getting worse, fueled by his angelic siblings who, in their attempts to help, are answering prayers in disastrous ways. The world is being destroyed by an apocalypse of 1,000 cuts, and it's the angels' fault for turning prayers into disasters. Amenadiel insists Lucifer must take the throne, but he's adamant that's not his calling. Meanwhile, Dan's ghost watches helplessly as his killer, Vincent Lemecq, escapes from prison during the chaos caused by a lion materializing in the yard. Today is August 4th, the day he disappears. Lucifer's initial plan is to lock himself in a panic room, but Rory convinces him otherwise. If this is his last day, they should live it. What follows is a day of karaoke, sumo wrestling, and a genuine father-daughter connection, finally built in the shadow of goodbye. Reality, however, is relentless. Chloe shows Lucifer a positive pregnancy test. The timeline seems sealed, an inescapable loop. Unable to fight fate, Lucifer decides to use his final hours for redemption. He sets up a science foundation for Ella, gifts Maze his demonic dagger, and shares a moment of brotherhood with Amenadiel, who has an epiphany of his own. He should be God, but a God who rules from Earth, learning from humanity. Elsewhere, a desperate Dan tracks down Lemecq and does the unthinkable. He possesses his own killer's body, only to become trapped inside it. He finds Lucifer, who, unable to help, advises him to spend what time he has left with those he loves. Lucifer takes his own advice to heart. He gathers Chloe and Rory, locks himself in the panic room, and waits for the clock to strike. Midnight. He hasn't vanished. They celebrate, for a second, their victory over fate. Then the phone rings. It's Lemecq. He's captured Rory and is waiting for him at the corner of 10th and Swanson. Fate wasn't tricked. It just set a trap. The trap was set. Lemecq heard everything, but Lucifer and Chloe don't back down. They go together, partners to the end. In the abandoned building, Lemecq's plan is revealed in all its cruelty. He forged weapons from the feathers of Rory's wings, turning the daughter into the only weapon that can destroy the father. The fight is brutal. Chloe is wounded, forcing Lucifer to leave her behind and face his enemy alone to save Rory.
I'm gonna bring it back for you.
But Lucifer doesn't fight. He refuses to give Lemecq what he wants. Instead of violence, he offers vulnerability, explaining that killing him would be the ultimate torture, preventing him from being a father. It's not a fistfight, it's a battle of wills. Rory breaks free, ready to kill Lemecq to end it all, but Lucifer stops her. He begs her not to be consumed by the same rage that defined him for millennia. Be better than me. she relents. Before he dies, Lamech confirms it. Dan found peace, finally ascending to heaven. With the crisis averted, Rory finally understands everything. The time loop wasn't to stop him from leaving. It was to ensure he discovered his true calling. Helping Lee, helping Dan, helping her. The proof was there all along. He's not meant to be God. He's meant to return to hell, not as a warden, but as a therapist, a doctor for damned souls. She makes him promise to fulfill his destiny, preserving the timeline that led them here. With his word, Rory disappears, returning to the future. Lucifer and Chloe share a painful goodbye, one last kiss before a lifetime of distance. He accepts his fate and descends to his new throne. Decades pass. Chloe lives a full life, raising their daughter. On her deathbed, an adult Rory comforts her. In the afterlife, Amenadiel greets her. Ready to go home? In hell, now a giant therapist's office, Lucifer is counseling a lost soul when the door opens. It's Chloe, ready to be his partner for all eternity, finally home.
I thought you could use a partner.